Welcome to Halifax County, Virginia, the home of Virginia International Raceway, or VIR, as it tends to be called. This is a beautiful place. It would be a lovely place for a golf course, a country park, maybe somewhere to come out and have a picnic. But thank goodness, back in 1957, an enterprising group of locals using a bulldozer carved out a race circuit in it. In 1974, we lost it to racing, and then it was brought back to life by Harvey Siegel and Connie Nyholm using the Country Club model in 2000. It's a circuit that has 17 challenging circuits on a track that traces the contours of the local green and pleasant land. Turn 1 at the end of a curving front straight, if that makes any sense, is a great overtaking manoeuvre. The old oak tree turn at turn 12. If you're brave and you've had a good run up through the uphill S's, you might have a chance there. And then into the braking area at the top of the hill, turn 14, the top of the roller coaster. Turn 17, not an overtaking place, but certainly somewhere at the hog pen where you can make a mistake and lose a lot of ground. No fans on hand here as we're behind closed doors for this next round of the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. It is the Michelin GT Challenge, no prototypes, and we're ready to go racing for 2 hours and 40 minutes. Hello everybody, I'm John Hindhaugh in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Jeremy Shaw is with me, and our VP Racing Fuel Pit and Paddock presenter is Shea Adam. Cars are out on the circuit, and Jeremy Shaw, quick look at our Porsche keys to the race. No prototypes here, gives the GTs a little bit more flexibility and a chance to run their own race.
It does, and it certainly should be. Traffic should be less of a factor. It's just going to be a flat-out motor race. With the track being track now being dry, but the grass being so wet after a lot of rain recently, anybody spinning off the track here has a potential, as you said a little while ago, to spin a long way off and potentially cause some yellow flags. But aside from that, there's a possibility here to go green all the way. That's going to make things very interesting.
The pit stops, there will be pit stops. There'll be a few of them. Can't afford to give up all the time you've worked hard to make on the track by fumbling a wheel nut. This is a team game, Jeremy.
It is, yeah. As competitive as this series is right now, any mistake made on the racetrack or in the pit lane is going to be very costly and potentially throwing away a possible win.
And as far as the penalties are concerned, again, it's quite a long pit lane, not as long as the one we came from at Road America, but again, it's so competitive it's going to take you out of contention.
Yeah, hit your marks both in the car and in the pit lane as well.
And finally, fuel. Tyres aren't a massive issue here, although there will be if the weather comes along, and I notice the safety car lights are out. But fuel here, it's fast. There's a lot of time spent on full throttle, and it's not an exactly even set of pit stops in terms of running a full tank of fuel.
No, I think everybody should be able to make it to the finish on with just 2 pit stops. That was one of the changes that IMSA made to the balance performance a couple of races ago. They gave everybody an extra 5 litres of fuel, so they should be able to make it on 2 pit stops.
So the Michelin post-race tech is behind us, is in front of us. We countdown to green is behind us. It's going to be fast. It's going to be furious. Hashtag Michelin PRT for anything that you see during this race that you want us to address on RS2 IMSA Radio at the end of the race. We're live in sound and vision on IMSA TV and IMSA Radio on Sirius XM as well. Wherever you are in the world, we are bringing together the biggest sports car and endurance community. Over in the UK, it's just after 7 o'clock in the evening, and it's been a reasonable but windy day for most of the UK. And we've got 2 hours and 40 minutes on the clock. Wherever you are in the world, at IMSA Radio, if you'd like to get in touch with us here at the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Pole position for the Richard Mille sponsored 76 McLaren, sitting there for Corey Fergus, who spoke to us in Michelin Countdown to Green. He's excited. He knows how tight it is with Robbie Foley, the fast-starting Robbie Foley. How many times have I said that? But it's true. The Turner Motorsport Liqui Moly car sits on the outside of the front row for GTD. It's two Porsches on the front row overall. The 911 from the 912. Fred Macavecchi, the Frenchman, from Laurens Vanthoor, the Belgian. And they come to the green flag. They're controlling the field now. And it's a long, slow, very considered run to the green flag, and the Michelin GT Challenge is crawling to the start. This is very interesting indeed. It's almost as if they're on the pit lane speed limiter, and now we go green, and a fabulous jump from the inside of the starting grid, and through goes Connor De Filippi in the bright red BMW Team RLL. He's going to go to second, so that didn't work for the Porsches. If they're talking about that in a team meeting, that didn't work out as planned. Everybody else streams through, just the GT cars, remember, in the Michelin GT Challenge here at VIR. Corvettes right in there as well. Big line of Michelin rubber being left through the NASCAR Champions Corner through turn number 3 from that was the yellow Corvette, wasn't it, who was laying that down? That was the Corvette Racing number 3 from Jordan Taylor, now through the uphill S's for the first time. The engine screaming out. A little bit of overcast, always a chance of rain here. This is absolutely fantastic racing already as the cars stream through. Now towards Oak Tree for the first time. What a great run to second place by Connor De Filippi onto the back straight. Good exit by the leading Porsche, the 911, which has disappeared from my timing and scoring at the moment, and they must have a transponder issue, but it is still leading. I can see that. For a moment I got excited because I saw Connor De Filippi listed in the lead. Connor De Filippi really wanting to win here. Jeremy, first lap of the race, clean. Interesting run to the green flag from the guys on the front, but that wasn't what Porsche had discussed earlier on in the trailer.
I don't think it was. No, absolutely right. A great start there by Connor De Filippi up into second place and monstering Fred Macavecchi. For somebody on just his second appearance here at this racetrack, Fred is doing a really, really good job out in front of this race at the moment.
Full course yellow.
Full
course yellow for Debris. And that's yellow at turn 1. It's at turn 1. So there was a bit of RG and, if you will, Bargy. Dennis and Tony there with the double flags. We've got a course vehicle out there as well, which is why the white flag is waving. And didn't see that. It was down the field. It looks like a front dive plane, which is very sharp and carbon fibre, and if that gets run over, it's been kind of blown off the racing line just a little bit. Just an opportunity, Jeremy, for us to catch our breath and maybe see what went on behind the GT Le Mans cars. There were 3 wide as the BMW had taken the lead. Robbie Foley for Turner Motorsport. Where does the bit of carbon fibre come flying off? I've got to be honest, didn't see it in the opening run to the first corner. In Vasser-Sullivan, number 12, and Frankie Montecalvo gives us a look down into turn 1. Oh, lovely run down the inside by the 48 of Madison Snow, who got the position, but that was clean. That was cleaner than the clean thing that had hand sanitizer sprayed all over it. That was very good indeed by Madison early on. Split to 2 AVS Lexus. Might have been the number 12 then that lost that front dive plane. So Robbie Foley leads GTD from Matt McMurray in the Acura, and the pole sitter Corey Fergus is pushed down to the 3rd spot ahead of Aaron Thielitz for Ian Vasser-Sullivan, then the fast starting Madison Snow, Frankie Montecalvo, then Cooper McNeil for Scuderia Corsa. Just having a look round the front of a couple of different cars. Shea Adam will be onto that already. And we've got a course vehicle in the middle of there as well. Wasn't expecting to see the SUV picking its way through there. The and almost getting run into by the first of the That was the first of the IMSA Sullivan cars. No, it was the second, I think.
Yeah.
As it was waving around. So
yeah, the number 12
ahead,
car was the big loser there, John. It lost 3 positions on start. The other loser, of course, being the pole sitter. He just got swamped, didn't he? That McLaren there clearly didn't get spooled up at the start, and the BMW did leapt past into the lead at GTD. Matt McMurray followed him in second place, so Corey Fergus down to third. The two Lexuses almost exchanged positions because one has fallen from
there it is,
down to 6th.
It was the 12 that lost it, and it was Madison Snow. So not quite as clean as a clean thing there as he went down the inside, but on a first corner, I don't think he'll get penalised for that. What they'll be worried about, Jeremy, is whether they've maybe picked up a little nick in the outside edge of the tyre on that number 48 Paul Miller Racing. Welcome back to Paul Miller Racing, by the way. They've been sitting out a few races as they have been watching the COVID-19 situation, and so now we're into tyre warming as the safety car picked its way through to the front of the field. I daren't sit down. I'm not going to sit down here. There's too much excitement. I've only got another 2 hours, 34 minutes and 36 seconds to go. At IMSA Radio, if you'd like to get in touch with us here, plenty of you listening and watching around the world. Hello to Corvette Racing, to Mershank Racing, IMSA Live, our colleagues also doing. If you're not following at IMSA Live, you absolutely should be. You'll get updates on the positions there as well on your Twitter. It's a great way to add a little bit of information. Most of the teams and drivers, all of the teams and most of the drivers, should I say, have got a Twitter feed as well. Makes following endurance racing a lot easier. Shay, anything coming from the paddock from those opening exchanges? What are you hearing?
The Paul Miller Racing team reports that the car is fine. That was not damage off of their car, and the Lexus team has said they're not feeling any handling issues thus far. So, hey, all fair in love and war. Yeah, okay, that seems to work. Thank you. Running down to the first corner, you'll always, Jeremy Shaw, get a bit of latitude because there's always going to be a bit of organisation and sorting themselves out at that stage.
Yeah, and a shame we have to go full course yellow. It's a long lap here. It's a minute 40. Shame, I think, with the COVID-19 problems, it's perhaps there's fewer marshals this year. There wasn't enough time to run out there and grab that piece of debris off the racetrack before, well in time for the cars to come around again, which is a shame, certainly. But look, safety first here,
Absolutely.
No question about it. And it's a long run out there as well to get to where that point was on the racetrack, because the marshal's post is kind of well to the inside or well off to the outside. So it's not an easy fix to get a piece of carbon fibre out of the way, and of course that they had to do.
Safety car lights are out. This is the Michelin GT Challenge. We're live on Sirius XM, around the world on RS2, which is IMSA Radio, in sound and vision on imsa.tv and via radio-show.co.uk, where the page also has enhanced timing and strategy software as well. That's what we're using here in the studio. We make it available to you as a second screen experience for you. So we do get the chance of another restart, albeit line astern here. IMSA Sullivan looking very carefully at the right front where that dive plane is missing, and off goes Fred McAvecchi. Porsche, BMW, Corvette. That's how they restart. We're racing again with 2 hours and 32 minutes still to run, and that BMW... He's pressed the push to pass there. Oh no, it was just the flashing the lights that Conor De Filippi was doing. Clearly gave him 20 horsepower more as he came down into the first corner, putting pressure on Fred McAvecchi, who has completely ignored him and not pulled over and let him go through. Can't believe that. Surely that's how bad-mannered of the Porsche driver. Meantime, in third position, Lawrence Vantour is right up the tailpipe to the 25, the bright red BMW with the M stripes on. Now they head up the climbing S's. Listen to the engines as they are revved within an inch of their lives. A little bit of defensive driving there from the 912. That must mean that John Edwards in the BMW, the second of the BMW M8 GTEs, is right there as they head across the top of the hill just getting airborne for a moment there. The flat six just over revving for a moment. You heard the rev rise through where the oak tree used to be, running all out over the extended tarmac that's been put to the left hand side now, past the school pits and heading back towards the start finish line. BMW's second and fourth. BMW leading with the M6 GT3. Its successor, the M4 GT3, unveiled this week at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, along with a heavily disguised street car version. BMW M-Power, following recent procedures from them and traditions where they've had the race car out at the same time or even before the road car being out and unveiled to the public. We had the M4 GT4 racing at Dubai before we'd seen the race there, the street car, 3 or 4 years ago. Top six breaking away. That's the GT LM, and then the fight. Robbie Foley, Matt McMurray, Corey Fergus, Aaron Telitz. Then Madison Snow, Frankie Montecalvo goes quickest for the number 12 car in the GT Daytona category. He's got the fastest lap at a 48.6, so clearly missing that right front dive plane is not making a difference to him. Down the inside for second place at turn 4, just before the complex. It's back to being a Porsche 1-2. Nobody's leaving anything on the table early on here, Jeremy Shaw. They want to make their point and make it early.
Yeah, that was a nice incisive move, wasn't it, there by Lawrence Vanthoor up into second place. So it was Conde Philippi was looking pretty strong there, but I think he was kind of mugged a little bit by Lawrence Vanthoor, and now he's got a lot of work to do. So BMW is now 2 by 2, isn't it, Noah's Ark at the front of the field, with Fred Makoviecki taking advantage of that pass to stretch away just a little bit at the front of the field.
Hello to Drew Adamson, who's listening in to IMSA Radio while doing yard work for his grandparents. Drew Adamson, one of the ridiculously talented people from iRacing who we worked with on the IMSA Pro Series earlier on in the year. Drew, best of luck to you, mate. Hopefully see you soon, and thanks for all your help. Down the inside, having run wide, tiny bit run wide, Conor de Filippi, it was a tiniest loss of forward progress there, Jeremy, as he came through turn 3. Maybe a little bit too much curb on the inside, which turned into a little bit of a squirrely moment on the outside, and that was all Lawrence Vanthoor needed. He had a little bit more forward progress, dived straight to the left and got to the apex first. But good driving by both, sensible driving by Conor de Filippi. He could have closed the door there, but that probably would have ended up in both of them being on the grass.
It would definitely have ended up both at best on the grass.
I was being kind.
In the ball. Yeah, exactly right, no, John. I mean, you're right. It was just the slightest hint of a mistake there for Conde Philippi. He seems to be struggling to get that car turned properly in the left-hander there at turn 3. Slid a little bit wide, and as you say, a super incisive pass though by Lawrence Vanthoor. If you're going to make a pass, that's the way to do it. Get absolutely alongside, just chuck it in there on the inside line. Get on the brakes late. There's no way Conde Philippi can even turn into the corner at that point. Pass done. Great job.
We talked about racing room being asked for and complied with. Perfect example. Put that one in the dictionary, the racing dictionary. Meantime, at the front of GT Daytona. Remember I said the fast starting Robbie Foley? Well, he got a really good jump. He was actually ahead at the start line. Now, that might be looked at when they replay the start, as they always do, but certainly had a great run into turn 1 over the McLaren of Corey Fergus, and Matt McMurray sneaked through as well in the Mershank Racing Acura. That's the 86 car, which is the purple and black machine that sits in second. That's the Auto Nation car. So our pole sitter in the dark grey and fluorescent orange, very reminiscent of the old Lark cars, if you've got a long memory, the old McLaren F1s. Jeremy and I remember those fondly. Meantime, a battle for 4th position. Ian Vassar-Sullivan sits in that position at the moment in GT Daytona. That's Aaron Telitz. Madison Snow back in racing. He's already been out in the Lamborghini Challenge this weekend as well, although the car very different to this one. Looks quite similar, performs very differently, makes its lap time very differently as well. And should just say, we've got rescheduled races coming up after the Michelin GT Challenge here for the WeatherTech SportsCar Championship because of a long delay earlier after a nasty incident. Some work had to be done on the safety features of the circuit, which meant we couldn't have cars on track. So a completely revamped end of the day. We've got Lamborghini and Porsche to come after this WeatherTech race, so stay tuned, please. Shea Adam has been talking to Madison Snow, and he says it is very different indeed between the Super Trofeo car and the GTD.
He said after driving the Super Trofeo car at the last Lamborghini Super Trofeo weekend at Road America, jumping back into the GTD machine was a bit like driving a spaceship all of a sudden. The buttons are in different places, and although he and teammate Brian Sellers tried to make both cars as similar as they could, placing the belts in the same position, even Brian struggled a little bit coming back into the GTD car this week, forgetting which button to push when you come in for a pit stop, for example. They're both still adapting back to the GTD car, but very, very different machines.
And that's a good point, Jeremy, isn't it? When people have been off for a little while, as those guys have, you can only really train when you're in the car. You can only really go racing when you're racing.
That's true. I mean, one of the reasons they are doing the Lamborghini Super Trofeo series is because it gives an opportunity. You got an opportunity to get some more track time last time out at Road America in preparation for here. Brian Sellers just concentrating on this. But look, these are two seasoned guys who've been around a long time. Switching between these two cars, really not that much of a problem for them.
Gert has tweeted at IMSA Radio after a great barbecue. I'm watching IMSA as a perfect ending to my Saturday. Thanks for the coverage, IMSA Radio. I'm guessing you're somewhere in Europe then, Gert Van Kamp, tweeting us at IMSA Radio. If you want to get in touch, if you've spotted something, let us know. And don't forget, we'll have a quick fire at Michelin Post-Race Tech, hashtag Michelin PRT at IMSA Radio. If you spot something you want to have a chat about in about 2 hours and 30 minutes time, probably a little bit under that, but quick fire racing to finish off this Super Saturday at VIR. Hi to Corrigan Smith and to Connie Nyholm and everybody who's worked so hard to make sure that VIR looks in its very best condition. Well, how can we tell? Because it always looks that good, frankly. What a green and pleasant area this is. Racing then for the GT Daytonas, and 6th position, Frankie Montecalvo has got the white and black WeatherTech Ferrari in his mirrors at the moment as they head down the long back straight with a few clouds just beginning to bubble up. Shea Adam, as always, will be watching the weather. If she gives us anything, she'll give us the weather forecast as we go along. She's very attuned to the weather, being a Florida native. Two AVS Lexus now line astern then. Teelitz and Frankie Montecalvo as Madison Snow did get through. So it's Turner Motorsport, BMW, Meyer Shank, Acura, McLaren from Compass, Lamborghini Huracan from Paul Miller Racing, and Lexus from Aim Vassar Sullivan. 5 different manufacturers in the top 5, just how Jeremy Shaw likes it in GT Daytona.
Yeah, very much so. It's a super battle going on there. Robbie Foley resets fastest lap that time, takes it away from Corey Fergus, who was quickest last time around. So super battling going on in GTD. In GTLM, the Porsches are just pulling away. The BMWs really appear to be struggling right now. Not the GTD BMW. That's just fine for Robbie Foley, as you say, just at the new fastest lap. But in GTLM, both those cars slipping back from the Porsches, and number 24 car has fallen behind both of the Corvettes a couple of laps ago.
It's Jeremy Shaw in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre, clobbering the curbs, going through the uphill S's in this fabulous battle between Montecalvo and Cooper McNeil for 6th and 7th position. Now setting the cars up at the far end of the race circuit, where the oak tree used to be, hit by a strike of lightning a few years ago. And I was trying to remember that there was a bit of a thread going on the Radio Show Limited Listeners Collective actually early on about when that happened. And I've got to say, I can't remember. I've seen the oak tree there, as I think you have as well, Shea. Jeremy, I know, has seen the oak tree in position, but I can't remember which year that it went down. So if you know, at IMSA Radio.
I know for you, John. It was 2013.
Because I got to see it. Ago?
Yep, I got to see it in 2012, and then we went back in 2013, and I believe the tree was struck by lightning maybe June or July, and we were back in August or September for the ALMS race, and there were still chunks of tree that could be found around the track. It was really sad.
Ah, yes, and there was some somewhere I have got a bit of the oak tree as a key fob. I'll have to dig that out somewhere, because they were selling them off as souvenirs, I seem to remember. 2 hours 20 minutes to go. And no, we can't plant another oak tree there, because it just wouldn't be the same. 2 hours 20 minutes to go at the front of the field.
Take a while, anyhow.
Well, yes. Hang on, I've got this acorn. Yes, exactly. I've got this acorn and a whole lot of to bed it in with. Fred Makowiecki and Lawrence Van Toor lead. There's a second and a half between them. Makowiecki set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:41.891. 1:41.987 for the second Porsche, so there's nothing between those two. Then BMW in the shape of the red number 25 Connor De Phillippi, who's beginning to come under pressure from Jordan Taylor and Ollie Gavin as Lawrence Van Toor resets the fastest lap of the GT Le Mans race with a 41.840. How does that stand? Oh, hang on a second. Down the inside, Corvette goes to third. Jordan Taylor has enough of looking at the back of the Motul BMW number 25 and thinks, those Porsches are getting away a bit. They're 6 seconds up the road. It's about time we got onto the back of them, and sets off in pursuit. 41.840, Jeremy Shaw. How does that lap time stack up?
The lap record here was set last year by Earl Bamber at 1:40.638, so we're still a second outside of that. Did you say fastest lap there for Van Toor? New fastest lap also in GTD. It's changed every single lap in GTD, I think, so far. Corey Fergus resets the fastest lap of the race in GTD, third on the road in the McLaren at 1:46.632. I think it was 300ths quicker than Madison Snow managed on the previous lap. So the battle there is really intense in GTD, but the BMW is just really struggling, and Jordan Taylor is now nearly 7 seconds behind the second place Porsche at this stage, so that's a lot of ground to have to make up.
Live in sound and vision if you're outside the US at radio-show.co.uk. We're on RS2 around the world with no blocks or brakes. That's IMSA Radio and the home of IMSA Radio. Throughout the left rear puncture for the 911. Makowiecki out of the lead. Left rear puncture. He's not got far to go to the pits. We are some 21 minutes in. Now, this actually might not be the worst thing, Jeremy. If he does his pit stop now and extends this first stint, it might actually work for them. He's coming in far too fast. The Michelin has disintegrated because he's driving so quickly from that left rear. Now, did he clip a curb, or was there some kind of rub on the inside of that car? In comes what was the pole sitter and the leader. This is taking them out of it at the moment, but they've got an opportunity. They've got to I reckon they've got to change all four and fuel him and send him longer into the race.
Yeah, that tyre's completely failed there, hasn't it? That's really rather interesting. The tyre VIR isn't generally a track that's particularly hard on tyres. However, there are curves here. You can stray on the sort of wrong side of those curves. They can cut the inside shoulder on the tyre. I fancy that might be what happened there to Makowiecki.
Yes, and it's coming back on that often does the damage, as Jeremy was intimating there. Rather than going off, it's when you get back on and there's a little bit of a drop down from the curb to the grass, and that can cut the inside shoulder of the tyre. Difficult to see, but the Michelin techs will be looking at that immediately. Meantime, another pass Corvette on Connor De Phillippi. So Corvette's now what would have been third and fourth, but that's now, of course, second and third as Lawrence Van Toor has taken over the lead. Makowiecki stayed behind the wheel of the Porsche GT Team 911 RSR number 911, got 4 new Michelins and was sent on his way. That will effectively push him deeper into this race than the other GT Le Mans car. But of course, what he's done, Jeremy, he's dropped all the way behind all of the GT Daytona cars. He's got work on his hands now.
Well, he has, and this is far earlier, I think, than you'll be able to get to the end with just one more pit stop. So I think this is consigned him to a 3-stop race. Everybody else should be able to make it, I think, on 2. I think even with that caution earlier on in this race, I don't believe that is going to be any salvation for number 911 car, at least not at this stage.
So IMSA at VIR, as we have been. I remember first coming here in the last year of the American Le Mans Series. Was the first year that I came to this track. It was the first year that the ALMS had been here. And in fact, that was my last ALMS television broadcast for ESPN, as it was in those days. And I was off to Japan for the final race of the season in the WEC. And this race has been a real favourite on the calendar for IMSA down through the years. And we have had prototypes here. I think Klaus Graf still holds the lap record here for sports cars, Jeremy. Is that right? In the Muscle Milk prototype?
Klaus Graf has the pole record here. Yes, in the Muscle Milk car. Yeah, 135.4. The race lap record was Lucas Luhr in the same car at a 136.1. That's an average speed of 122 miles an hour. That was back in 2012. So
really?
Pre-03, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And always been a big favourite. Traffic now for the leading Porsche, and a little hip check there on the Motul Audi number 30 from Hardpoint, and that's Rob Ferriol behind the wheel of that car. Macavecchi then into the back of the GT Daytona field, which is led by Turner Motorsport, Corey Fergus and Compass, then Paul Miller Racing, then the two main Vassar Sullivan Lexus. But look at the battle now for second position. Corey Fergus on Meershank Racing's Matt McMurray across the stripe now as they go past the starter stand. Just following down the GTD behind Paul Miller Racing and the two in Vassar Sullivan Lexus and Scuderia Corsa and the WeatherTech car, then Misha Goikberg for Heinrich Racing and an Acura, then the Heart of Racing, Ian James in 9th position, top 10 car, Robinson running at the moment for Riley Motorsports, doing a good job. Then Ralph Hardrick for Wright Motorsports in the Porsche number 18. Then Till Bechtelscheimer for Gradient, then Rob Ferriol, and then the GRT Magnus Lamborghini, just another half a second away at the back. That's the full 14 car field for GT Daytona, with the leaders coming through them now. And Macavecchi,
not just yet.
It was Macavecchi recovering. My apologies. Macavecchi coming through that. And actually, those are passes for position, Jeremy.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. So he rejoined in last place. He's going to now work his way all the way through the field. He's about half a minute ahead, is Fred Macavecchi, of the overall race leader. Yeah,
he's doing a good job coming back, Macavecchi. Yeah, 1 minute and 6 behind. So on a 41, 141, 142 lap. There you go. Work that one out yourselves. Well, this one has already caused some interest, and it will mean, of course, that there's work to do. Safety car could change all things, but in fairness, there's a lot of space here, and IMSA, unless absolutely necessary, won't put the safety car out. We've had a quick intervention earlier on for just 2 laps for the full course yellow, for the removal of that debris. Pretty certain it was from the number 12 car. That's the Frank Monte Calvo aim Vassar Sullivan. Macavecchi 7 seconds up the road from the 2 Corvettes. Now, when Jordan Taylor made the overtake, I said it was getting on for 6 seconds and he didn't want to wait much longer. But it's not coming down. Off goes Hardpoint. Rob Ferriol again, Jeremy. And that's, well, what did we say? Right at the start of the show, 17, not a passing place, but an action area. If you run wide there, you're going for a wild ride at the hog pen, and that's exactly what's happened. Missed his turning point. Oh, no, he didn't. He lost the back end as he was going into the second part of 17. He's actually been a bit lucky there, Jeremy, as he was following the Acura ahead of him, the Gradient Racing car. He spun to the inside, and he was lucky not to get picked up by the following car and to find his way back onto the track. Almost had to check his pass there, he was so far off.
Yeah, that was a bit of a wild run. I think he probably got a little bit too much curb there in the first part of that double apex, and that whole pen kind of at the bottom of the hill. That kind of threw him wide, and then, as you say, he just lost control after that. Here's another pass here with Madison Snow looking to the inside. Sneaky pass. Ooh, it's interesting to see the straight line speed differential there between the Lamborghini and the Mercedes. Looked like they're, we didn't see the beginning straight. Maybe got McLaren. A pit, so okay, fine. The BMWs, they've really been struggling.
And into the pits for John Edwards. That looks like a full service for the number 24 Rahal Letterman Lanigan in this VP. Oh, hang on, is there a bit of damage to the left front, Adam?
4 tires and fuel, and they did replace the left front Michelin, but they were wiggling the tire to try and examine it a bit further. They've taken the engine cover off, and they are checking the suspension. It looks like they're actually checking some of the steering too. Yeah, that's not a good sign for John Edwards. He normally does not qualify and start. That's typically the job of Connor DeFilippi, but this is something more ominous for the Daytona 24-hour winning number 24 BMW.
No, whether he's reported a problem with the steering or whether there has been some contact there. Shea said they were trying to move around the left front wheel when it was up on the jacks. It's too early for the stop with just 30 minutes in the book at the moment. But they were looking as if they thought there might be damage there, either on the rack or something to do with the steering arms at the front of that number 24 BMW, and he drops to the back of the field. However, another BMW doing rather well is the GT3 leader, the GT Daytona leader, the M6 GT. Oh, and off has gone Gradient. Till Bechtelsheimer. That's turn 3, isn't it? He's gone deep into the tyre wall. This could be the full course caution that Fred Makovecki would love, because he won't have to stop. And surely everybody else will. Look like Till was on his own. Turns in, loses the back end. Lost a little bit of the front, then the back. That was an odd one. We might be able to get that out of there if he can find reverse. At the moment, no, we've gone full course yellow. And off, and the BMW 24 off as well, having just come out of the pits. And that has got deranged steering as well. So maybe there was some issue on the wet grass. As we said at the start, Jeremy was pointing out, if you get stuck in the long grass here, spinning up the rear Michelins, that's not going to work. John, that is not going to work. Keep the revs down. So front wheel they weren't sure about on the left front and gave it a bit of a wiggle. They did change the tyre, then they opened the bonnet, then they sent it out. So has it not mounted properly, that left front wheel and tyre? They took the bonnet off, the hood off, and had a look at the steering mechanism. Then he went out of the pits and he's fallen off pretty much straight away. I reckon he's gone off at the exit of turn 3 and at turn 4 and can't get it back up the hill. There's quite a few places here where the racetrack is higher than the surrounding area. But we're in full course yellow. Makovecki does not have to pit. Now, surely, Jeremy, all the other GT Le Mans will pit with 32 minutes gone. Oh yeah, something went horribly wrong for the 24. Sorry, interrupting myself there. And he could not steer that car. So whatever he reported to the team, I think he can say on the radio now, I was right.
Yes, unfortunately, that's a great shame. He'd certainly been struggling. Made a good start, was running in 4th position right with the leaders initially, but then was falling back. He got passed by both of the Corvettes, then he was slipping back, but then he was maintaining pace again right before he made that pit stop. So kind of weird, not quite sure what happened there. The other 25 car clearly losing pace, whereas the Corvettes were picking up pace. In fact,
very much.
Oliver Gavin had just set the new fastest lap of the race. The lap before this caution period came out, running in 3rd position, a 141.773 for Oliver Gavin in 3rd position.
Hello to Michael, glad you're enjoying what we're doing at the moment at IMSA Radio. If you want to get in touch with us, hello to John Atkinson, who hopefully is listening now as well. If you are inside the US, you can get us live without any commercial interruption on Sirius XM or on RS2 IMSA Radio. If you're outside the US and your territory does not have a network TV deal, then it is IMSA.tv, or of course on the player at radio-show.co.uk. Plenty of ways for you to watch here with 2 hours and 6 minutes to go. Shea Adam, the pits will open in a moment or two. I expect GT Le Mans to come in, but GTDs might want to stay out for a little while. They will get another lap around, but there's a good reason for the GT Daytonas not coming in.
We've only had 34 minutes and 21 seconds elapsed in this race so far. GTD minimum drive time, 45 minutes for your silver or bronze driver, all of whom had to start the race because that's who has to qualify the car. So by the time the GTLM cars come in this time around, and then the GTD cars are able to come in the next time around, well, we're going to be well short of that 45-minute window. Just to quickly add on, thank you very much to Jesse Krohn for bringing his phone with him to the pit box and for responding to my message. I appreciate that so much, Jesse. He said, quote, something broke in the steering. Yeah. So that's why John had come into the pit lane to begin with. They put the new tire on, they looked under the bonnet, thought everything looked okay, sent him back out, and apparently it wasn't.
Jeremy?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's too early for the GTD cars to make driver changes, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a few of the cars, particularly at the back of the field in GTD, to come in, take on some fuel, so when they come in next time around, they can take on less fuel and hopefully jump some of the guys at the front of the field. Can't really afford to give up that track position right now. It kind of depends where we're 2 minutes 4 remaining, so what's that, 35, so it's another 5 minutes or so, and they can make the driver changes. We'll have to wait and see what the lap time is for the safety car here at the front of the field.
Hello to Josh Barrett on his way home from Silverstone, or actually in his Silverstone hotel room. He's been commentating on the 750 Motor Club there today. Here come the pit stops. Let's go down to our VP Racing Fuel pit and paddock reporter, Shea Adam.
Fuel and tires and a driver change for the 912 that came in from the lead. So Larry handing over to, what was it that we called him? Earl. Yeah, Earl Bamber taking over that car. As the 911 came in, just got a splash of fuel and went back out with fuel service for the 912. 911 is very grateful for this caution. It's interesting, both Corvettes came in. Fuel and tires for both of those cars, but prior to the pit stops, as the 3 car had a little bit of issue leaving its pit box actually, and is now being pulled back. That's the championship leader. It was an issue with the tire change. The right rear was not completed properly, wasn't secured. Now they're going to drop it back off, so that car will drop back to the 5th position in class. Prior to this caution, though, the tire temps and the pressures from both Corvettes were looking A-OK. The engineers were saying, be mindful of the rears, but we're doing just fine. The cloud cover is helping out with Corvette Racing, who, remember, elected to change their starting tires because they qualified on a hard compound and decided to run the mediums. It was definitely the right decision.
Yeah, and when you're only going to the back of a 6-car grid, it's not the worst thing in the world. Randy Brown is listening while delivering the mail today. Thanks for your service, Randy. We appreciate it. We know how hard you guys are working in very difficult times for US mail, US Postal Service at the moment. Drive-in in style, in a drive-in movie tonight, Indiana Jones and the Lost Ark on tap. Just got to make it through work first, he says. Thanks for listening in, Randy. Hello to Alan Prosser, and also to all those listening around the world at the moment, including Marcel Duc, who's emailed us or tweeted us at IMSA Radio. Nothing more satisfying, says Phil, than listening in while watching the TV's feed, and I've managed to perfectly sync your commentary to the pictures here in the States. Hello to Alan Prosser, who's doing a great job with the screen grabs, and Christina Nielsen is listening in. Hello, Christina. Wish we were there to race. We miss you and Catherine Legg and a number of other drivers as well. I know there'll be lots of drivers who would normally be driving Daytona prototypes as well who are listening in. We miss you all. It's tough not being able to interact with you at the track. Pits will be open this time around for GTD, and all of those messages coming to us in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre via Twitter at IMSA Radio. And don't forget, if you see something you want to talk about, use the hashtag Michelin PRT for post-race tech. It's going to be a bit of a quick fire Michelin PRT at IMSA Radio, hashtag PRT. Let's see who comes to the pit lane. Robbie Foley has first choice. Remember, Fred McAvecchi has cycled to the front of GTLM because of that puncture earlier on where he came into the pits, and Foley comes in, followed in by McMurray, and the Paul Miller Racing Lambo Compass are in as well to the Vassar Sullivan. Vassar Sullivan have split. Aaron Taylor stays out. Gar Robinson stays out. He's looking for his 45 minutes. John Potter stays out. See above comment. But everybody else has come in. So it'll be Taylitz from Robinson, from John Potter, as we go back to green, unless they can get down another 5 minutes and therefore take a pit stop at the end of the safety car period. Shea Adam is watching the stop at the GTD leaders.
Fuel and tires for the 86 MSR Acura. That's the pink one. And fuel and tires also for the blue one, the 57. As Robbie Foley stays aboard the Turner Motorsports BMW, fuel and tires for him. The Lexus goes back out, having taken fuel only for Aaron Telitz. So a different strategy there. Ryan Hardwick also with fuel and tires, as took Madison Snow in the Paul Miller Racing Lamborghini. And leaving the pit lane much further down than they came in, the Compass Racing McLaren. Fuel and tires for that team too.
Shea Adam with the VP Racing Fuels pit and paddock report. Listen out for some new content from VP Fuel this round. We're going to try and squeeze in a couple of bits and pieces between the races here, and VP have been doing great work with motor racing since the mid 1970s, and delighted to say that a little while ago got the chance to speak to Andy Deal about some of the expansion of VP Racing, not just fuel anymore. And listen out for that on RS2 IMSA Radio, in between the Lamborghini and Porsche races, which come up straight after this event. Jeremy Shaw, under 2 hours to run now. It's not the worst thing that could have happened for Fred McAvecchi at the front of the field.
It's absolutely the best thing that could have happened for Fred McAvecchi, because now he's back on strategy with everybody else, and because he needed only a splash of fuel because he took on a lot of fuel when he came in for that unscheduled stop. He's able, because it's a much shorter stop, he's able to leapfrog everybody else and come out back in the lead of the race. So it's worked out perfectly for him. Corvettes, so they've got to work their way past the BMW again. That'll be disappointing for the Corvette team. So it's kind of back to exactly how we started, in actual fact, except for the fact that two Corvettes have exchanged positions, and the number 24 car unfortunately isn't in the game.
And the crucial thing about that, Jeremy, is that the Porsche guys realised the opportunity they had. A lot of people might have stayed out with Fred McAvecchi because they'd just made their pit stop, but all they've done is splash that car and sent him, and that's why he's got 2 pit stops to his name where everybody else has only got 1, but he has crucially got track position.
Yeah, that's right, and that's everybody's back on. Everybody's now back in the same game, so it's exactly as if we're starting this race. But interesting to see who chose to come into the pits for GTD and who didn't. For the guys at the back of the field, they were going to really do what the opposite of what the leaders did. So I'm sure we will see the cars that did not stop come in right after we go back to green, number 14, 74 and 44. Then they can put their pro driver in and run to the end of the race, because of course in GTD it's a Pro-Am class. The Am driver, it's oversimplifying it, but basically that's what it boils down to, the Pro-Am class. The Am driver has to start the race. The Pro, by definition, generally is quicker, so he can then take it on from there. So I'm sure now it's going to be very different. It's really interesting now to see how this race carries on from here.
Well, the 14 has come in this time around. That's interesting. That's the second time that car's been in, isn't it?
Yeah, they did come in and do what I thought was full service. It was a very long stop for the Lexus, but now they're changing all 4 Michelin tires and putting more fuel in. It was Telitz who came in. It was Montecalvo who stayed out the last time, wasn't it? Yeah, because Montecalvo scored in third.
No, it was number 14 car that came in last time.
Okay,
as well.
fine.
I think for that car.
Yeah.
Yes, Taylor. Yes, you're right. Well, that's interesting because we've not got 45 minutes elapsed there. Which is it 40 or is it 45 at minimum?
It's 45, but that's not a driver change. That's still Aaron Keelet's bright pink helmet behind the wheel. I'm going to text Jack Hawksworth and see what's going on.
Copy that. The BMW pace car or pace truck lights are out. Pace SUV, I suppose you would call that. That's very interesting. At the end of this lap will be 45 minutes. Now, are the pits still open? That's the question. Air temperature 30 degrees Celsius, 32 on the track, so it's pleasant. 69% humidity at the moment. Shea has got the answer from Lexus.
Many thanks to Pam for listening in and sending us the answer. It was the 12 that came in the first time. So Monte came in and got fuel and tires, and the 14 that just came in for its first pit stop.
But why did they not send it in the first time? Why did they send it around? Do we know?
No, we don't know. That's the mystery.
Okay. Taylor has gone back out in that car. Shea, what's the situation with coming into the pits? Can you come into the pits now at the end of this as we go back to green?
No. So right now, effectively, the pits are closed. If the lights are out on the safety car, the pit closed lights would be illuminated on the pit lane, so facing the pit wall, and at a position where the drivers can see as they come through Hogpen down toward the start-finish line. But you have to wait until the lap is completed where they've gone back to green before you come into the pit lane. If you come in, you're going to get another drive-through penalty.
Yeah, and that's a shame because 45 minutes has just elapsed. By the way, Gradient Racing, till Bechtelsheimer did get towed out of the wall in turn 3. Not too much damage on that car. He's back on track, but 2 laps down. Thanks to Declan Brennan for letting us know that here on at IMSA Radio. If you want to be in touch with us here in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. So, you ready for more action? Still an hour and 50, let's call it an hour and 54 minutes, shall we? To the end of this race. We've got yet more people up on the wall at the moment, but they can't come in at the end of this lap. We're going back to green. They're on the front straight now. Makoviecki leads them to the green. As he goes across the line, it's half a second between himself and his teammate, and once again, Connor De Philippi gets a great start. Back into third for the red BMW, exactly that happened in the first start, the original start of the race. He managed to sneak up between the 2 Porsches. What about the BMW of Turner Racing? Robbie Foley came out in 4th position. He's got 3 cars ahead of him, and he's trying to get through. What happened to the cars that didn't stop in GTD? Oh no, they
come in as we went back to green.
He can't do that. He's going to get him. That's a closed pit.
If the green is out.
No, I think you have to wait a lap, Jeremy. I'm pretty certain you have to wait a lap for that. John Potter stayed out as he is I think supposed to do. We'll check that for you. Jeremy is flicking through the rule book even as we speak at the moment. You've got it online somewhere, haven't you? You've got the tablet.
No, I haven't.
Shit.
The pit lane is closed when the safety car comes back into the pit lane, and people have been penalized for doing that. Correct. This year, last year, many years before. It surprises me that Bill Riley would make such a mistake, particularly when he won the race a year ago. He knows the rule book pretty well.
Side by side, it's Madison Snow going past the Lexus. Very tight indeed. And looks like he's got through at the top. I tell you what, you've got to be brave. Both of you have got to be brave to pull that one off at the top of the roller coaster. But it has happened, and that means that Madison Snow goes ahead then, and up into 7th. Where does it come out there then? That's interesting.
That was John Potter.
It was Potter, was it? That was a pass for the lead. Okay. All right. So John Potter was being pat.
Yeah, he did a great first lap there. And now he's brought that car into the pit lane to hand over to Andy Lally.
Which I reckon is the right thing to do. We'll wait to see what happens keep an eye on Alcamel and the timing to see what's going on. Hell of a scrap going on down in the midfield. 6th position, Ralph Hardwick, Wright Motorsports, Corey Fergus right behind him. Misha Goikberg behind that. Madison Snow ahead of them. Cooper McNeil ahead of them. But really nothing to choose there between those cars. So here's the car that stayed out. And the reason that car stayed out, Shea, is all about drive time.
It is, and John Potter knew that you can't come into the pit lane and follow the safety car in, so he stayed out for that extra lap and now hands over to Andy Lally, who's doing his first complete lap. He hopes, we'll say that when he does cross the start-finish line, of VIR in 2020.
Predicting 74 lap race distance. It is a time certain event, of course, and that's for the cars at the front of the field. Working lap 22 at the moment, and at the front of the field, Fred Makovecki has a 1.5 second lead on his teammate Earl Bamber. Makovecki in from the start. Bamber, having taken over, will take the car to the end. Connor De Filippi back into third position for RLL Team BMW, the 25 car. He's been in from the start, and he's right up the tailpipes of the Porsche. In fact, goes to the left-hand side of the Porsche at the far end of the circuit at turn 1, as he tries to get round. Can't make that one work, but that BMW is looking very quick and a very stable platform indeed. Ollie Gavin is ahead of his teammate Jordan Taylor. That's the top 5. John Edwards, BMW Team RLL 24. That car, broken steering, will take no further part, at least for the while. Right, here we go with some penalties. 74 pit lane speed violation, stop and go, 19 Ks. Well, if you're going to break the speed limit on pit lane, don't do it by 1 or 2. 19 Ks above the speed limit. So that number 74, that was the Gar Robinson car. And that car will be into the pit lane for Lawson Aschenbach and Riley Motorsports. What I'm not seeing is that car entering a closed pit, so maybe that has been allowed, which is certainly a change from previous years to me. So 74 pit lane speeding, and still Porsches 1 and 2, but only just as Earl Bamber, Jeremy Shaw, had to fight off the very close attentions of Connor De Filippi through turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, very interesting that, isn't it? And we're going to see now over the course of the next few laps whether the BMW can maintain this early pace. We saw this at the beginning of the race. The BMWs were really fast, then they slipped away quite dramatically, and then the Corvettes came into their own. So time management maybe is a factor here. At the moment though, right now, all 5 GTLM cars are pretty much equally spaced, a little bit more than a second apart. That's pretty
Is on at IMSA Radio. Do you guys mean famous NASCAR driver Andy Lally? Question mark, question mark. Yes, we do. He's in the race. Very good pickup. In the 44 GRT Magnus, turning his first laps of the weekend. He's had zero luck at all this weekend in the Lamborghini number 44. He is about a minute and 10 seconds behind the leader in class. Remember that for later on. I may well refer back to, you might want to jot that down somewhere. Let's have a look at our Porsche keys to the race. Run your own race. We've got no P cars. Well, that hasn't really come into fruition yet, because we've had a couple of safety car interventions. As into the pit lane comes Lawson Aschenbach to drive through the pit lane. Pit stops. It did not seem to be a clean pit stop for 1 or 2 of the guys. Some very much longer pit times. Penalties. Here we are in a penalty at the moment. Well, he's driven into, yeah, it was literally into the penalty box and then out again. That's perfectly correct by Lawson Aschenbach, but that's cost him some time. And now with that intervention of the safety car, it's going to really be very, very interesting to note how we go from here as far as the fuel is concerned. Remember, Fred Makovecki is now back on the same fuel strategy as everybody else, but his tyres are a wee bit older. He's done, I reckon, about 8 laps, well, 9 laps longer on those tyres. I don't think they put new Michelins on that car. I just think they put fuel in it when they were in last time around. Maybe, Shea, you can find out that for me. It was a very quick pit stop indeed. The leader, the 911.
Copy.
Shea, our VP Racing Fuel Pit and Paddock reporter. Right, Jeremy. Right,
That was fuel only.
it was fuel only. Thank you.
Yes.
And we've got an hour and 45 minutes, and basically now you can almost split that up with two 45-minute stints, can't you? So that's made things a little bit easier for the strategy, the guys who are calling the strategy on the pit boxes.
Yeah, I think the way that caution fell, it's going to be fairly close to where they get it. Oh no, there's a problem for the number 44 car during the pit stop as well. Goodness gracious me.
Did they roll before they had the yeah, I think they did.
It certainly looked like it. That's
when the fuel probe came
that's,
out.
Penalty for the hose or tool attached, propelling wheels, drive-through penalty. Goodness gracious me. The two guys that kind of called it right here have got it wrong.
And what did we say in Porsche Keys to the Race? You cannot mess up your pit stops. And there we've seen two of the cars we expected to be really at the sharp end of things. Let's see how that's gone. I think that'll be called. Yes, it has been called. Drive through. So spot on, an hour and 45 to go. It is the Michelin GT Challenge at VIR. Just GTD and GT Daytona out there at the moment. The Aston Martin, Ian James still on board, sits in 9th position. Great work by Heart of Racing. Welcome Darren Kelly, the New Zealand D1NZ drift champion with a ridiculously 20 million horsepower Nissan GTR, which he seems to be able to park on a dime or rotate round a dime in less than its own length. He's an exceptional talent, and he's part of the Heart of Racing family. Yeah, no doubt about that. And indeed, even one of the tyres was caught as well, and the crew members knew what was going on straight away. There'll be a little bit of a post-mortem after that, Jeremy. That's not up to their usual standard. They knew it immediately.
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it? Look, the left front, it's called left front tire change. The guy in front of the right front wheels, excuse me, who was kind of giving the signal to Andy. He really wasn't terribly clear, I think, there. And that's what probably caused the confusion. He sort of blinked, if you like, and did a bit more than blink. Actually, he kind of moved. I'm sure that Andy took that as a signal to go. So, just I think a procedural mistake there by GRT Magnus Racing, and that's going to be very, very costly. Lawson Ascherbach, by the way, has just turned a new fastest lap of the race in GTD, but he's now more than a minute behind everybody else, and he needs a full course caution to get back into the fray. And here's Rob Ferrier off the road.
Oh, yeah, another off from the hardpoint car, and this time there's been contact on the left rear and left-hand side of the normally immaculate hardpoint Audi. That is on the run into the oak tree, and that is a fast part of the race circuit. Richard Fockings, by the way, the man standing at the front of the car as the car controller. Now, nasty wiggle for the hardpoint car. Got onto the grass. You try not to do anything, but by then you're heading towards the tyre barrier, and that will have winded Rob Ferriol all down the side of the car. Has got what I'm sure is Michelin tyre rubber on it. Michelin do an awful lot of tyre testing here for road tyres, street tyres on the Patriot course and on the full circuit as well. Now that car hasn't moved at the moment. Rob talking to the team. I think this is going to bring out another full course yellow. Yep, the BMW is coming out again. Full course yellow again, as Rob Ferriol hasn't been able to get that car going. This is the third intervention of the safety car. Jeremy Shaw.
Great news, particularly for Rob, for the number 74 car, Lawson Ascherbach, and the number 44 of Andy Lally. It's going to bring them right back into contention. They've already made their driver change. They're good to go to the end. This is going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, what have we got left on the clock? An hour and 42 minutes. This is getting very interesting indeed. The tiniest, he might have been a tiny bit late turning in at the top of the hill from the uphill S's, and then he got a little bit of a wiggle. We've seen a few cars, Jeremy, haven't we, just lose the rear ends today. I'm not sure maybe if the temperature changes, it's 30 degrees in the air, 32 on the track. That's on the Celsius scale. Don't know if people have just struggled maybe with their tyre pressures a little bit, but we've seen a couple of cars just being a little feisty on the rear end today.
Yeah, I mean, it's super fast up at the top of the hill there, and it's total commitment. You're blind turning into that corner at the top of the hill, and it's very easy to run a little bit wide on the exit. Even the curbs are pretty slippery. The grass definitely so. So yeah, just kind of one of those things there for Rob Ferrell. Great show for Rob. Home track for him. This is where he started his racing dream. If you like, did some track days right here at VIR.
Just before the full course yellow, Fred McAvecchi in the 911 set a new overall best time, 1:41.6, and the 912 car, Earl Bamber, being pressed by Connor De Filippi, warned for blocking. So that will be the warning. I think the next time around it will be a penalty. Now, we didn't in the last full course caution, the safety car intervention, by the way, the hard point Audi back into the pit lane. We didn't need a pass around as Rob Ferriel goes straight behind the wall and into the pit lane, into the paddock, excuse me. We didn't need a pass around because nobody had lost a position or a lap between themselves and the rest of the field. This time there is a pass around, and it's happening now.
Yeah, but the pits won't be closed. This will be a short yellow. I think
Correct.
we're within
Quickie
15
yellow.
minutes. Yeah, quickie yellow. So we won't go through the whole scenario. They would just be resetting anything that need to be reset. As you say, there's nothing there, so you should be able to go back to green fairly soon.
Yes, with Rob Ferriel already underneath the awning for Hard Point Racing. And if you weren't sure why we were mentioning Andy Lally, Xfinity race, last weekend? That wasn't it?
And the week before.
Yeah, of course. Earl Bamber was out as well. And Jordan Taylor.
He had an eventful time, didn't he?
Yes. Jordan Taylor not out, but doing some coaching, Adam, that worked rather well.
Yeah, he was employed under the Chevrolet umbrella to help out with the Team Hendricks drivers. So 3 of the 4 working with him in the simulator for quite some time, and one of those 4 actually ending up in the victory lane. So Chase Elliott gave a very nice shout out to Jordan Taylor and all of his coaching prowess. So we were ever present throughout every rank of the NASCAR weekend last week at Charlotte, and last week at Daytona, and the week before that at Road America was actually a brilliant finish between Austin Cindric, AJ Allmendinger, and then Lally coming up to make it in the top 5. So IMSA once again shining bright.
Yeah, extra chicane, Jeremy, in the road course just before just coming out of NASCAR Turn 4, which was an interesting addition.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. There was one too many chicanes for Earl Bamber, unfortunately. Yes, it wasn't there he went off. It was the other one he went off, wasn't it? But that was a big shunt. It was a shame because he had a fast car. I'm sure he had a blast. I mean, those cars, with 900 horsepower and no drive range. There's no traction control, ABS, anything like that. No, this is old school driving, those NASCAR cars on a road course. Fantastic fun, a brilliant effort by Andy Lally. I mean, that's a first year team. To have 2 top 5 finishes is absolutely amazing. And I know he was, I spoke to him, I know he was kicking himself afterwards because he should have had a podium probably. We got a bit greedy on the last lap and lost a little bit of ground, so fell back to 5th, but it was a brilliant run for Andy Lally in particular. And as you say, Austin Cindric, he's done a lot of races and had some success in the Michelin Pilot Challenge. He's just been the man to beat in the Xfinity Series, and there couldn't be a cooler guy, could there, either? It's really fun to see.
Yeah, it was an interesting bit of crossover going on there. Unfortunately, we don't get Xfinity or NASCAR coverage in the UK anymore now on any of the major networks, but I did catch up with it later on in the week. At RSL _studio if you'd like to, at IMSA Radio, I've been doing too much work today on various of our different channels. At IMSA Radio if you'd like to get in touch with us. And I didn't see any takers in there for any pit stops because the pits have not been opened. A short yellow, as Jeremy Shaw rightly said, announced by Race Control. That means that The pits don't open, we just reset the field, the pass around, and the pass around is for anybody who got caught in between the race leader and their own leader. It's so that they don't get disadvantaged. Well, I don't think we need to split the field, do we? No. So that can just carry on. All the GT Le Mans are line astern in the first 5 positions. Fred Makovecki then will restart in the lead for the last hour and 30 odd minutes from his teammate Earl Bamber. Then Connor De Phillippi, the remaining BMW team RLL BMW R8 GTE. It's the 25 car, the red one, if you like. Then Ollie Gavin, the grey one with the yellow bits, and John Taylor, the yellow one with the grey bits. Then it's Frank Montecalvo for Aim Vassar Sullivan, the very bright yellow one with the black bits. Then it's the white one with the red and blue, Turner Motorsport BMW, that's the Liquid Molly one. Then it's Mershank Racing, Matt McMurray, that is the black and purple one. Then the white and black one, the 63 Ferrari for Scuderia Corsa. Then Paul Miller Racing, the dark blue one, Madison Snow in 5th at GTD, and Ralph Hardwick makes up the top 6, stealthing his way up into the top 6 for Wright Motorsport, with Pat Long still to come in that car. Corey Fergus, the pole sitter, will not be happy at being all the way down in 7th, but they're all close together as we go back to green, and the right-hand pedal has been mashed by Fred Makovecki, and we are back under race conditions. The 2 Porsches still under pressure, and Connor De Phillippi again has got a great restart and drags past the Porsche even before the braking area into second. Is he going to have a go at the lead? Not quite, but he was thinking about it. Man, that BMW's got the ponies, particularly coming from a slow-ish restart. Goes to the left, goes to the right of the leader as they come through turn 3, heading towards turn 4. Fred Makovecki's going to have to play this cool. Oh, Connor just goes a little bit wide again. That's how he lost the second position before. And we had the earlier exchanges. Now up the uphill S's. Great restart by Connor De Phillippi. Wasn't a bad start by either of the 2 Porsches, but the BMW just rocketed away out the final turn, out of the final turn, Jeremy.
Yeah, and talking of Turner, in second place in the GTD is Robbie Foley.
Nice pick up,
all over the back end.
Blushes.
All over the back end of Frankie Montecalvo here. Super battle at the front here. So it's Lexus, BMW, Acura, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, McLaren in the top 7 positions. All different, aren't they? Fantastic racing in GTD.
GT Daytona. Remember, it's not that long ago when the GT went to GT3 in relative terms, and there were people who were saying this will never work, it's not going to work for the US, it's a European based formula. It could not have been a better decision by IMSA, and we have seen right from its inception a brilliant interpretation of BOP, which is not necessarily identical to the way everybody else does it. And off goes the Corvette. I'll come back to that thought in a moment. That is Ollie Gavin. Hang on, write this one in your diary. Ollie Gavin's off the track. He's not had a good time down through the years here, and that I think is at turn 17. Yes, it was at the Hog Pen. Had a huge accident a few years ago in the C7R at the top of the hill. So did he jump or was he pushed? He was sitting in a 4th position. Oh, made a mistake, hit the inside curb again, Jeremy. That's just unsettled the car. Had a huge shunt, I remember, at the top of the hill a few years ago when he lost it at the top of the roller coaster and backed it in there. Does he just take too much curb? Oh, barely, but that's what, half a car's length, half a car's width offline, and he's paid a very, very heavy penalty for a very small mistake. Jeremy.
He has. He's fallen all the way almost to the back of the field. Or maybe he's to the back of the field. Yes, he is to the back of the field in GTD as well. Yes.
Had to stop and brake hard to get the grass out of the intakes on the front. Rear-engined car, or at least mid-engined car. So engine behind the cockpit now, but at the front of the car, all the cooling radiators are still there. The air and oil radiators are still there. So still very, very important indeed. Connor De Phillippi up to second and looking at the leader. Remember, he got that great restart, looking at the back of the Fred Makovecki car. Fred with slightly older tyres. It was fuel only. We got that confirmed. So he was changed his tyres at the end of lap number 11, and we're now on lap 32. And look at the pace of that BMW, Jeremy. That is very impressive indeed from the RLL car.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, that was, he's got the legs on the straights. That was the case at the Rolex 24, wasn't it? The BMW was super fast on the straights. The BMW, the Porsche, they're working really well through the corners. It's a super battle out at the front here, and we're going to, we'll see in a lap or 2 or 3 whether we have this same battle continuing. Rather, Porsche just be a little bit cautious in the early part of the stint, make sure they don't put too much heat in their tyres too soon.
Yeah, into the pit lane for WeatherTech and the 63. Cooper McNeil taking service. Shea Adam with this VP Racing Fuel update.
Cooper McNeil getting out, and isn't it fun to say Tony Villander getting in? It's one of those tracks that Cooper's won at, and Tony hasn't. Not very many of those in the U.S., but he's finished third here twice. So Tony, who is very riled up and ready to go out and try and get some track action, it's going to be a fun car to watch, that Ferrari.
Every time I talk to Villander here, Road America, Lime Rock Park, I remember the first time that Villander came into American racing was at Lime Rock Park, put the car in pole position, and then in the race I think he wrote it off. He won. Thank me for reminding him of that. He loves this type of circuit. He thinks that a driver can make a difference here, and that, of course, Jeremy, is exactly what drivers want. Keep an eye on that 63 car with Tony Villander. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Conor De Filippi, young American driver, in with Europe's best and Australasia's best at the moment, splitting the two Porsches.
He is. This is a super battle that's unfolding here at the front last time around for the leader. 142.7. Yeah, it's interesting. It certainly takes the Porsches a few laps to really get into their stride and be able to turn fast lap times. Then we'll see in the first couple of stints in this race, we've then seen the Porsche kind of stretch its legs and pull away a bit. But in the early stages, that BMW is really right on it. And in the fourth position now, Jordan Taylor, he is having seen his teammate run off the road at a hotbed. He's now up into fourth position, right behind Earl Bamber in the number 3 Corvette.
Into the pit lane, the number 12, Frankie Montecalvo, eschewed the opportunity to change drivers early on. Now I think Shea Adam, he will be getting out the car.
Townsend Bell taking over and looking to get this part of his responsibility for the weekend done. Flying to Indy tomorrow to call the Indianapolis 500 race. So he's got to focus on driving a race car today and then talking about race cars tomorrow. It's 4 tires and fuel for the 12 Ambassador Sullivan Lexus GT3, as they are just waiting on fuel at this point. And Townsend told, go, get out of here, go drive the race car. And he does listen.
Yeah, out onto the track with an hour and 28 remaining. One more pit stop for those guys still to come. How close are some of the other guys going to run into this race? That's a strategic stop there, Jeremy. They didn't need fuel at that point, I reckon, but they've decided to get their second drivers into those cars that have just made those stops.
Oh yeah, you'll put as much fuel in there for the time it takes to change the driver, so you'll need less fuel on your final stop. It certainly messed up the strategies quite a lot now, but it's going to be interesting to see. They can't get to the end on this tank of fuel. How long is it again? We've got an hour and 27 minutes remaining, so we're kind of halfway through a stint now. It's going to be interesting.
Sorry, Jeremy. Sorry to interrupt there.
Side by side.
Side by side, Jordan Taylor and Earl Bamber, and I think the yellow Corvette is going to prevail at turn 3. Looks for the cut back on the inside, the Kiwi, but can't get it done. The New Zealander now looking at the back then of that bright yellow Jordan Taylor Corvette Racing C8R. Meantime, the leaders are battling through traffic, and also, don't forget, we've got Ollie Gavin who's coming back as well. He's in between the Andy Lally 9th position GT Daytona Magnus and Ian James in the Heart of Racing Aston, and he's having to pick his way through. And those GT Daytonas are all having their own scrap. He's just dealt with the Heart of Racing Aston, so that now puts him behind Misha Goikberg, the Heinricha Racing with Michael Shank Racing and Kerb Agachanian Acura NSX GT3. Can I just say the 57 for that? It's really much easier. He's right in behind that car at the moment. These cars are all battling, Jeremy. That's tough for Ollie. He has got a pace, and probably a little bit of a downforce advantage in terms of an overall pit time. But these cars are quick out the corners, and of course they've got the advantage of ABS braking as well, so they are super late on the brakes.
Yeah, but he'll carve his way through. That's no problem. But the guy who's really made a great move here since the restart is car number 74, Lawson Archenbach. Having had that penalty, he's now charging along there. He's worked his way up now to 5th position in the class. That's with those. We've had a couple of other guys come into the pits in the last couple. That's number 12 and number 63. But he's made up a lot of positions. Andy Lally, he's made up 1 or 2 positions, but that's all.
That pass for Jordan Taylor on Earl Bamber, important for the race, Shea Adam, and that's what everyone's thinking about right now. But that has championship implications as well.
I promise you that Lawrence Vantor and Earl Bamber are thinking about the championship right now with no guarantee about how many races are left in the series. They need to figure out how many points that they can make up to that number 3 car. They're 10 points back coming into this weekend. Well, there aren't that many points to gain or lose on an IMSA weekend with only 6 cars in the class. So being 1 place ahead of the people you're chasing in the championship is much better than being 1 place behind.
Very, very busy on the Midweek Motorsport, or should I say the Radio Show Limited Listeners Collective thread for this race this weekend. Seems like you're enjoying the racing from beautiful VIR at the front of GTD. Robbie Foley and Matt McMurray still going at it. That's Turner Motorsport BMW, the Liquid Moly car, and the Auto Nation bright pink, the puce almost colour, and dark grey of the NSX. For Michelin Racing sitting in 2nd place. Ollie Gavin is coming up to this battle now. He'll drag up to them down the back straight as they head to the top of the hill at the roller coaster. And the rather menacing sight of the Corvette coming up behind them. Jeremy?
Yeah, no, the number 48 car slid back a little bit on that lap, lost a little bit of ground management, so perhaps while he was being passed by Oliver Gavin, as we see Ian James and the Aston Martin all over now the back end of the pole sitting McLaren of Corey Fergus. That's a tremendous battle there. I mean, pretty much there's nothing to choose between any of the GTD cars now, but Lawson Archenbach definitely has the advantage, having made that pit stop already. Here's the last time around by the new fastest lap for Fred McAvecchi, and now Earl Bamber is in the pits in car number 9-12. He's been slipping back.
Yeah, and that's an interesting stop as well, because that again, that can't be for fuel for that car. Earl Bamber in the pit lane, so maybe they've got a tyre issue. They're struggling with the right rear. Shea Adam is watching this one.
They are. It was a little bit of a seating issue to try and get the tire in, but they were also looking at the left rear too, so perhaps there's something more sinister going on in the rear of the 912. Haven't lost any time because they were still refueling the whole session. Now Earl goes back out. I'm going to send Larry a message and see what's going on with that injured Porsche.
Yeah, well, Larry did 18 laps up to the safety car. 18 laps just being completed by Earl Bamber, but that to me is too early for a regular stop, so we'll get the word on that in the VP Racing Fuel pit update for you from Shea Adam. An hour and 23 to go. They were hang on a second. They've got something very loose at the back of the car. It looks like the under tray, the diffuser at the back. Now that is massive on that car. Literally as well as in terms of performance. It's a big under tray. Remember, they turned around the engine and the gearbox to make use of the new regulations at the back of GTE as it's called in Europe, and they couldn't do it when the engine was hanging back over the axle. GT Le Mans rules say that you can actually put the engine anywhere you want. You don't even have to just keep it in the standard road car engine bay, so in theory you could have a mid-engined BMW or a front-engine Porsche. Why would you do that? But Porsche swapped round the engine and the gearbox to give them a little more extra space underneath the back of that car to allow them to use that aero back there, and that was not creating the downforce. That was not the downforce they were looking for, to paraphrase a well-known phrase or saying from a movie. Shea Adam has been doing some digging and has this VP Racing Fuel pit report.
It was not entirely caused by itself that the diffuser came loose on the 912.
Really?
It was some contact with the number 25 BMW, and I should say that that is the red one because the black one is back out. Jesse Krum behind the wheel now. The team did repair the steering rack, so they're hoping that it holds to the end of this one.
Wow, well played for RLL, who've got a busy weekend with their IndyCar commitment. And if you're wondering why we're racing with IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship on a Saturday and still have challenge races, including the Michelin Pilot Challenge tomorrow, which you'll be able to see and hear here on IMSA Radio and TV. It's all about the Indy 500. A number of teams who are involved in the WeatherTech Championship, including Michelin Racing, who are running the 86, which is under pressure at the moment for its position at the top of the roller coaster. Through goes the 48. Oh no, not quite. Madison Snow in the red, white and black new colour scheme for that car this weekend. Again, that we welcome them back into IMSA Racing. Michelin Racing, RLL of course, all involved in IndyCar racing, and some of those team members heading up to Indiana overnight tonight to get the 104th NTT IndyCar Indy 500 powered by Gamebridge underway tomorrow afternoon at, if I remember rightly, 2 o'clock Eastern. I think that's the right time. Check local listings for details on that. By the way, carrying a lot of stuff in my head at the moment. New fastest lap at the front of the field, and it's Porsche again, Jeremy Shaw.
Yeah, once again, it's interesting, isn't it? It takes it sort of 7 or 8 laps to really get up to speed. It just goes faster and faster, the Porsche, and he's now pulled out 3.2 seconds over Conor De Filippi, who, interestingly, has pulled out a similar margin over Jordan Taylor in the Corvette. So equally spaced out, top 3 in GTLN, the Porsche, the BMW, and the Corvette. Then Ollie Gavin is moving his way up to 4th place overall, and then it's this wonderful battle for the rest of the field in GTD. Robbie Foley, he's edged out a little bit now with this battle going on behind him, as we see heading up the hill here with he's finally made the move there as Madison Snow ahead of Matt McMurray.
Correct.
That little battle has enabled Robbie Foley to extend his advantage. Meanwhile, Tony Vilander, having taken over number 63 Ferrari, has just set the fastest lap of the race in GTD.
That stop for Earl Bamber, whatever the issue was at the back of that car, I want to now see when they make their final stop, because they've gone off strategy to everybody else and they've dropped back. Okay, they're 5th position in a class of 6 at the moment, but the 912 wants to try and make up points at the moment, so they're going to have to do something a little bit funky there. So I'm keeping an eye on them for when they might want to come into the pits. We've not really seen, Jeremy, a full fuel run because of the way the safety car interventions have come for the GT Le Mans cars, or indeed the GTDs at the moment. Fred McAvecchi's 21 laps into this stint. They're stopped at lap number 19, and remember, he came in and got track position because he'd had a puncture on the left rear earlier on, but he is on the same fuel strategy as everyone else. So at the front of the field, the top 4 are all on the same fuel strategy, if not tyres, because McAvecchi only stopped for fuel. His tyres now 9 laps older than those 3 cars behind him.
But clearly not slowing down, as you said. He just had the fastest lap of the race last time around on lap 38. So the tyres are working very, very well on that Porsche. That mid-engine car is really nicely balanced and not using up his tyres. But this battle in GTD on board here with Aaron Telius, who's following Andy Lally, neither of these two able to make any progress. I'll tell you what, my hat's off here particularly to Ryan Hardwick, who's running in 4th position in GTD in a Wright Motorsports Porsche. He's only just over 3 seconds behind kind of the battle for the lead, which is now stretched out a little bit after Madison Snow's got past Matt McMurray. But Ryan Hardwick, he's at the head of this big long train of cars, holding off Lawson Aschenbach, and then Ian James just got past Misha Goldberg, so the Aston Martin ahead of the Acura for 6th and 7th.
We did point out how well Wright had been going in the early sessions, and I did say they'd sort of stealth their way up the 6th. They're doing better than that now, as Jeremy's mentioned, with Ralph Hardwick for Wright Motorsports. A lot of personal bets coming in now. Madison Snow 146.4, Robbie Foley 146.5. Those two trading tenths of seconds at the head of GTD, and that gap down to 1.5 seconds. Makoviecki out to 8 seconds at the front of the field from Jordan Taylor, and Connor De Philippi 6 seconds further back. Then Ollie Gavin, who's had an off-track grassy moment, remember, at the final corner at the hog pen, 35 seconds further back from there. Earl Bamber with an out of sync pit stop for GTLM in 5th position. Jesse Kron back in the race for BMW Team RLL in the 24, the black BMW M8 GT, after a steering issue earlier on in the race, put that car onto the track and indeed brought out a full course yellow. An hour and 16 minutes still to go. I'm sorry, you're thinking of going somewhere? You must be mad. Stay exactly where you are, because this one is not over yet, Jeremy Shaw, and Connor De Philippi is fighting really hard to try and find some pace in that BMW.
Yeah, what happened to the BMW on that last? Did I miss something there? The BMW was
53. Yeah, he did a 53. He lost
he must
10
have had a spin
seconds.
somewhere. We didn't see that, did we? Or was I looking at the wrong screen?
No, absolutely.
So now 8.4 seconds the lead for the 911 car over the Corvette. Wow.
Robbie Foley leads for Liquid Molly. Turner could be a big tackle weekend for Turner Motorsport. He'll be out in Michelin Pilot Challenge tomorrow. Swap round between the two headline races. Saturday, IMSA WeatherTech, Sunday for Michelin Pilot. We'll have that for you on RS2 IMSA Radio tomorrow. And if you're outside the US, all of the challenge races, including 2 tonight, remember, with full coverage in sound and vision for you as well.
Also in GTD, by the way, on the last lap, Aaron Tielitz got past Corey Ferguson. Corey Ferguson now back to 10th position in that pole-winning McLaren. And the other guy was on the move was Andy Lally, also got past Misha Goldberg as well. Now, so Andy Lally and Alan Tielitz are both past Misha Goldberg in the last couple of laps. That's what I was trying to say.
Remember, I said that when Andy Lally restarted, he was about a minute and just over a minute and 10 seconds. Hang on, I'll come back to that. Where was the mistake for the 25? Answer, Oak Tree. Lost the back end of the car and hit the wall on driver's left on the outside of the corner, but that was losing the back end in the middle of the corner. Is there something on the track up there? Did I see something on the onboard camera? Am I just trying to find an excuse or a reason at least for Connor De Philippi? That's an unusual mistake for Connor De Philippi, and that's where he lost his 10 seconds. Could have been a lot worse there. Let me go back to Andy Lally. He was about a minute, just under a minute and 20 seconds, I think I said, from the GTD leader at the time. He's got that down to just under a minute and 10 now, away from the leader, about a minute and 8. So he has made up time despite being mired in the pack. So not just making up positions, but crucially, Jeremy, making up time on the class leader. Lally, as ever, giving nothing but 100%.
Yeah, he's not a minute behind. He's only a few seconds behind. I mean, it's all fairly close. He'll get that caution to close back up again. Since then, they've all been running in a train, pretty much, GTD. Just spread out just a little bit over the last few laps. Robbie Foley kind of inching away, but Madison Snow is really into his stride now. And as we can see, he's a lot closer, is he not, to Robbie Foley in that leading Turner Motorsport BMW as they head up the hill.
Yeah, he's been charging. Yes, excuse me. That was what I was trying to say. It was over a minute, getting on through a minute and 20. And now he's not even that off the race leader, never mind his class leader. As you said, Jeremy, helped out by the safety car. He's 10 seconds off the lead. Leader, no, that's Earl Bamber in the pits with an hour and 12 minutes to go. This is more problems on the rear end of the car. Shea Adam.
It is. It looks as though the diffuser perhaps isn't seated quite right. The mechanics were looking at it. They took the opportunity to change the tires, and now they're actually taking the right rear off again to look under the underside of the car to see if there's anything rattling. But Earl has not been happy with the performance of the cars since he went back out after the contact with De Philippi that resulted in the diffuser being loose. The mechanics are now taking the back off completely. They're going to get a closer look. They might even bring a new one out over the wall. Yes, now they're doing that. They're putting a brand brand new rear end component on this car to try and see if it will help. And it actually, confusingly, is labeled 911. So when we look at the back of this car, we're going to have to look at the top to see if it's dark gray or white.
And the IMSA official not happy with that. The 9-1 part of the number is clearly on there all the time. It looks like the final one has been put on with a little bit of black tape, and they've made that into a 2 with some more black gaffer tape, but it's not seating. That is not fastening on that car, and this is drifting away. They won't want to lose. What have they got? They've got about 17 laps before they lose another position to the BMW of Jesse Krohn. And so they have got plenty of time to get that fixed. They're losing any opportunity because they've lost another lap now of a better position, Jeremy. But they're just got to get that done and get that car to the end.
That's exactly right. So the damage limitation here right now for that number 912 car.
So with an hour and 10 minutes still to go, you're listening to IMSA Radio, watching IMSA TV wherever you are around the world. Ian McCarthy on at IMSA Radio says GTD consistently some of the best sports car racing in the world for my money. Between that and TCR, I'd say these global formulas are working very well stateside. More please. Can't disagree with that at all. Keep your questions as well coming in for Michelin post-race tech. We don't have a lot of time. We're going to try and squeeze a couple of races in at the end of the day, including the rescheduled race that we lost earlier on today because of the track work. So 2 challenge races tonight. Fantastic racing so far, says Jan 007, having an absolute blast watching live from northern Germany after a full day of other motorsport, including DTM. At IMSA Radio, hashtag for post-race tech, that would be hashtag Michelin PRT, if you don't mind. So Jeremy Shaw coming down now to a crucial time for GT Daytona. Next 10 or 15 minutes and they can make a stop and go to the end, and that's when the tactical and strategical window opens up for GT Daytona.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's interesting, isn't it? Because we've seen a few drivers, a few teams that have brought their silver drivers, or their lesser experienced drivers, I should say, into the pits to make their driver change, whereas most of them have not. Robbie Foley, Madison Snow, Matt McMurray, Lawson Ashenbach is the exception. He's the one that in the top 5 who has made the driver change, and he's charging along trying to close the gap to those 3 leaders. But this gap for the battle for the lead now, Robbie Foley under intense pressure from Madison Snow, and it was great to see the lesser rated drivers having a better opportunity to go further into race purely by the time of the pit stops, but they are really doing a nice job.
Yeah, Jeremy Shaw with me, John Hindhaugh in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Good to have your company. Shea Adam is down in the pit lane, virtually, of course. Even our PRs aren't allowed in the paddock for the team. So thank you once again to all of the team, media personnel, and to the PRs, etc. Obviously also having to do their jobs remotely and passing on all kinds of information to us here for our VP Fuels pit and paddock reports. Hour and 8 minutes to go, and Makowiecki leads by 11 seconds. Then it's Corvette versus BMW, second and third, with Earl Bamber having dropped out. Tom Milner has made a pit stop and dropped out of contention as well. Remember, Makowiecki made an early pit stop after a left rear tyre let go on him, but he's still got a pit stop to make now. So has Jordan Taylor and Conor De Filippi, all 28 laps since they were last in the pit. And how about GT Daytona, the GT3 cars? As we heard from a number of our Twitter correspondents at IMSA Radio, great entertainment, and what a return to racing in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship for Madison Snow, pressuring Robbie Foley. Both of these drivers started the race. So Bill Oberlin versus Brian Sellers, who had a birthday this week. That's to come. That's mouth-watering. But that doesn't mean that this isn't entertaining as well, as Snow is now right with the leader, coming out the final corner and onto the front straight. Jeremy Shaw.
Yeah, fabulous battle going on here. And there'll be about another, maybe 3 or 4 laps before they're able to make their pit stops. And in the third position there, Matt McMurray is closing in again, isn't he? He's
yes,
now
he is.
Less than 2 seconds back, and actually inching closer to both of those two is Lawson Aschenbach in 4th position. So
been a good drive back from Aschenbach.
Tremendous battle. It's been a great drive back from Aschenbach. Remember,
they got that Riley penalty that they were assessed for the pit lane violation. That was wiped out by the safety car, but sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug, and they did get that little striker look. They'll not worry about that. They'll be on the other side of that another day. Hello to Tim Fulbrook, been on the beach all day in the southwest of the UK. Can Hardwick keep going forward? Stellar stint so far in the 16 Porsche. 5th position for him. He's got pressure now from Ian James in the Aston Martin, who's also quietly moved up through the field, as quietly as you can do with a V8 twin turbo Aston Martin, of course. But Ian doing a cracking job, and still plenty of racing to go on. Aschenbach 4th position. Riley rumbling with that Mercedes AMG GT3. 1.5 seconds up the road is Matt McMurray in the Acura, and at the lead of GTD. They're at the top of the hill again and again. Madison Snow super late on the brakes, going through the compression and up the final hill at the start of the roller coaster. Now as they drop down, the BMW looks a bit sharper on the front end, and McMurray can't follow it quite as closely. They're going to do another lap, Jeremy. I love the way these cars, front engine BMW rear wheel drive, mid engine Lamborghini V10, of course rear wheel drive, they make their lap speed in a different way, and that gives us this lovely way of looking at motor racing, where yes, BOP plays a part, and that's okay, but there's different strengths and weaknesses, and that's what we like.
Yeah, just brilliant, isn't it? And we're just looking at the comparative weights of the cars, because as you say, these cars are all different and they have different weights assigned to them. The BMW weighs in at 1,305 kilograms. The Lamborghini is 1,340, so 35 kilograms, call it 75 pounds heavier, but it's looking after its tires clearly very, very well, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
And behind those two, there's the Acura that weighs in at 1,325, so that's kind of in the middle. And then the Mercedes, which is on board now with Lawson Aschenbach, is the heaviest of these cars at 1,360 kilograms with that big V8 engine.
Through Oak Tree Corner, thanks to Mike Rose and Alan Prosser. A wet summer in 2013, and the Oak Tree met its end when it collapsed on the 2nd of July, early in the morning, 2013. There's the full story about the Oak Tree. Not there anymore. It means we can see the corner better, but I have heard drivers say it was, for the first few years, Jeremy, a very different entry to that corner, because it's a quick entry to the first part of that double right-hander where the Oak Tree used to stand, and it was somewhere that you used to, that was somewhere where your eyes were drawn to, into the pit lane for the 2nd place car for Paul Miller Racing in GTD. The Lamborghini is in. Shea Adam is watching the stop.
Finally, Madison Snow getting out of the 48 Paul Miller Racing Lamborghini. He's got another race later today, so he's used up a lot of his energy stores. We'll need to down a few bottles of Pedialyte. But Brian Sellers taking over. Had a birthday this week, did Brian, and they're looking to get him a little bit of champagne to celebrate. The Paul Miller Racing crew was on furlough until the end of July. They weren't practicing pit stops. They weren't able to do any of the stuff that they normally are. 4 tires and fuel, and they got everything done well and truly before the fuel nozzle came out. So a perfect pit stop from Paul Miller's boys, and that's exactly the way that they would have planned it.
And the very second that the VP Racing fuel nozzle was off, Brian Sellers was ready to take off. He's got an hour and 2 minutes. That that's doable, Jeremy, I think, to the end of the race. I think they've stopped at the very first opportunity to get that car to the end of the race.
Absolutely, they have, yes. So they reckon they go from here, a bit over an hour. It's certainly a stretch. It's going to be some fuel save, I believe, for Brian Sellers there. It's not going to be a flat-out run, I don't think. So he's probably hoping for a little bit of full-course caution. Of course, that Paul Miller Racing team, they're not really in the battle for the overall championship. Their sights are set now on the Michelin Endurance Cup, having missed the last 3 races due to the pandemic. So they're focusing on the long-distance races, and for these other races, they're just going to go for the win. So if they can kind of put themselves out on a bit of a limb here, which is what they've done by making this early pit stop, perhaps it will work in their favour.
Well, they have done a 30-lap stint in that car, and I reckon for the leaders there's 31 laps to go. So I reckon they can go to the end in that car. It's going to be tight.
Caution so far, it's going to be very tight.
Yeah, it's going to be tight. Did we have a caution in that? We had 3, is that full lap cautions? We had 3 laps of full course caution. So yes, Jeremy, it's going to be very tight indeed. Right Motorsport come in. Ralph Hardwick has done his work for the day.
He's struggling lately.
His pace has just dropped off. He was in a big fight with Ian James earlier on, and Ian James seemed to get the worst of that as he was going through turns 4 and 5. Shea Adam watching the 57 into the pit lane as well. That is Misha Goikberg.
Alvaro Parent taking it back out, a guy who hasn't raced at VIR in IMSA competition. He has under other umbrellas, but he's getting his first taste of IMSA racing. Fuel and tires for the Heinricher Racing Acura. That is the blue one for those of you at home who like the car colors a lot better. The other blue car in GTD was into the pit lane as well. That's the 16 Wright Motorsport Porsche. Patrick Long, fresh off of a Muskoka vacation. He's rested. He's got that little peace of mind and zen. A little bit of a slow getaway from the stop at Fuel and Tires for the factory Porsche driver looking for another win at VIR.
Robbie Foley has stayed out in the lead of GT Daytona.
He's down the hill now.
Just coming
down the hill now.
Yeah, is he turning in, Jeremy? I think he is. It looks like he's staying in the...
Nope.
No, he's going for another lap.
You're right. Yep.
Yeah, you get the sort of idea as they come down. I thought he was turning in, but he drifted over towards the right-hand side of the road. He's got the Corvette coming up behind him. That's not a pass for position, of course. So another lap for the 96. Now this is interesting. Bill Power yet to be installed in the number 96 car. Moment or two ago. Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
No, I beg your pardon. I think it's just down to, here's the Aston Martin trying to make a move there on the Porsche, and that's going to allow Andy Lally to get past both of them. That was a couple of laps ago that happened. That was before the pit stop for the number 16 car. Correct. And certainly Ryan Hardwick had been struggling towards the end of that stint, but he's now handed over the car to Patrick Long, so he'll be able to run flat out from here. And the 96 Turner Motorsport BMW, I mean, Robbie's been able to run a really, really good pace. It's certainly very early in terms of making that final pit stop. They're in the championship fight here, so they want to make sure they can run flat out with Bill Power at the end, the final hour of this motor race.
Still looking for that record-breaking IMSA win to become the most successful IMSA driver of all time in terms of race victories. He's got a real chance here, We knew it would happen. It was just a question of when. At the moment, they've got the race leader right behind them. Now, will Foley peel off this time? And Makoviecki needs to be wary of what happens as they come off turn 17 now. The BMW does indeed stay at the right-hand side. They're both in. Whoa, that's interesting. 9:11 with still 57 minutes to go. That's going to be stretching it a little bit for the GT Le Mans car. I'm not sure they can do 55 minutes, Jeremy. 57 minutes, in fact, for a GT Le Mans car. No problem for the Turner BMW, but I'm not sure about the Porsche. So let's go to Shea for the pit stop.
Fuel and tires for the Turner Motorsport BMW, and Bill Power, as he did his little dance around the side of the car to get into that number 96, just waiting on the fuel at this point. The tire change was done perfectly. Also following both the BMW and the Porsche into the pit lane was the pink Acura. That's the 86 for MSR. Matt McMurray bringing that car in, and Mario Farnbacher taking it back over. Now, second in the last race for the duo, but also second last year here at this track. So it's a very strong car to keep an eye on.
Through goes the number 48, completing another lap for Brian Sellers for Paul Miller Racing. So who is the leading car that's made the stop? Oberlin is out. Did he get out ahead of the Lamborghini? I think he did, you know, but only just. There's the Lamborghini. Where's the Turner BMW heading up the hill? So that is very much advantage. Just going round turn 3 now. I think that's advantage to Turner, Jeremy. They stayed out that extra lap, and they've got the Acura behind them, and I think that's Farnbacher, yeah, and I think Sellers is back behind there. So a net gain for Turner and for Mershank Racing. Brian Sellers has got a bit to do now.
Yeah, this is going to be a fascinating final hour of this race. 55 minutes remaining, so I think any time now will be is fine to be able to make it to the end. Here he is. Lawson Ashenbach comes in from the lead in GTD for his final stop. There won't be a driver change, of course. It'll be just fuel and tyres for the number 74 Riley Motorsports Mercedes.
Problem on the stop, though, as the guy doing the right front tire change, they have 3 jacks. They can only have 2 tire guns over the wall at any given time. So the tire changer on the right front had to wait until one of the air jacks was pulled back over the wall. That managed to get things done, but it was a very sloppy looking stop tire change wise, as they're still waiting for the fuel to go into that Mercedes. It's 106 liters worth of fuel. It takes 40 seconds to get into the car, so it is quite a time. But Lawson Aschenbach has now been sent back out. In the meantime, who is that driver that you were tracking earlier, John, in GTD? Because he's leading.
Yeah, it wasn't the best looking stop, as you say, for Aschenbach, but ultimately no lost time, Jeremy, because the deciding factor there is how long it takes to put enough VP Racing fuel in that car to get it to the end. So it didn't look as slick as I'm sure they would have liked. They've given up a position to Brian Sellers, who's on hotter Michelin tyres, but ultimately, so long as you get it done before the fuel hose comes out, you've done your job.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, this is going to be tight now, isn't it? I mean, we've got Andy Lally is in the lead of GTD at the moment. He owes the pit stop. He's going to have a bit more time because
he's done 27 laps, Jeremy, since he was last in the pits.
Yep.
And we've seen people do 30, 32, 33 laps in GTD. It won't be long. Here comes Jordan Taylor from the lead, actually, because we did have the 911 in. Nick Tandy has now been installed, and from down the road at Bedford, but of course they're all at Alton Park this weekend for British Touring Car Championship. Joe Tandy Racing, the family race team that Nick Tandy is affectionately called the boss by those guys. They'll be tuned in somewhere up in the northwest of the UK. The boss is in, guys, and he's sitting in third. So Corvette and Conor De Filippi for BMW in the pit lane. Shea Adam full service here.
And the King of Spain has been installed into the 3 Corvette. Sorry, Fernando, but you're not the King of Spain in IMSA when you're not in it full time. So it's Antonio Garcia taking over for Jordan Taylor. And that time, the 3 stop was perfectly clean. So they managed to get all their service done. Also in the 25 BMW, that's the red one. Conor De Filippi will be staying in the pit lane as Bruno Spengler goes out. It was full service for Andy Lally in the Magnus GRT Lamborghini. That's what we just heard in the background. And also full service still going on for Tony Villander in the Scuderia Corse Ferrari.
So after those pit stops at the front of the GTD field, I'll get the GTLM in a moment. Bill Oberlin leads by half a second from the Mershank Racing Super Mario Farnbacher. Brian Sellers 2.6 seconds further back. Forget about the time, because it's about 3 car lengths, if that. At the head of GT Le Mans, I said I'd update you on that. Porsche back to the front with Nick Tandy and a 10-second lead for the number 911 from Antonio Garcia and Bruno Spengler and Tom Milner, all in there as well. Big slide for Mario Farnbacher coming out of 4, and that, Jeremy Shaw, didn't help his cause one little bit, dropped about 8 cars length on the leader, Bill Oberlin, in Turner Motorsports BMW.
Yeah, this is, well, they're both going to have to hang it out here. It's going to be a straight fight between these two. Great pit stops from both of these teams, but brilliant first stints by both of the co-drivers here. With Matt McMurray doing a really good job, and Robbie Foley as well. He's handed over that car to Bill Oberlin, and that's exactly where he wants to be.
You know, Jeremy, when we were talking about our Porsche keys to the race, you made the point on a couple of the Porsche keys to the race. Just a quick pass position here as the number 14 of Jack Hawksworth is going past Andy Lally. Andy's just out the pits, remember, so not got his Michelin's up to temperature or pressure yet, and Andy doesn't fight too hard there because he knows he's got 51 minutes to get towards the front of the field. You talked, Jeremy, on a couple of the points that I was making about no penalties, about getting your pit stops right, about running your old race, about how competitive it really is here nowadays and how few mistakes you're going to be able to make. When you see Farnbacher spin up the rear wheels out of what is probably a second gear corner, and that loses him 8-9 cars lengths, which he's now going to have to fight to get back, that tells you how competitive this field is. That's just a slight over enthusiastic application of the throttle, and his chance for the lead for at least a few laps has disappeared. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I mean, it just shows how quickly things can change.
Vielander in the pit lane. This is the 63 out of 11th position for Scuderia Corsa. This will be their last pit stop with 50 minutes to go. Shea Adam has this VP Fuels pit lane report.
This is not good. They were just in the pit lane a lap ago, so something has gone wrong for this car. Tony Vielander sitting behind the wheel, just stationary. I didn't actually see the car even go up in the air. Nope, the engine cover has come off.
Oh dear.
This is a bigger issue for the Ferrari.
Oh, that's such a shame. Tony will be absolutely gutted about that. Not one here. Teammate has 50 minutes to go, and Farnbacher has drafted, grafted and schemed his way back to the back of the field, back of the leader, I should say. So it's back down to 0.6 of a second. Paul Miller Racing, Brian Sellers is down to within 2 seconds of the lead as he's got 3 seconds on Aschenbach. Then it's 3.5 to Andy Lally and Alvaro Parent, and another 2 back to Pat Long. So what's that? We're talking, small. The biggest gap there is from Jack Hawksworth in 5th to Riley Motorsports in 4th. That's 15 seconds. Otherwise, we're in 3, 4, less than seconds, Jeremy, and we've got a real grandstand finish here in the next 48 minutes.
Right with you there, and monstering the back of the Turner Motorsport BMW is Mario Farnbacher, Super Mario. He's just set the fastest lap of the race in GTD, a 1 minute 45.7. The lap record, by the way, was 1:44.4, set last year, a couple of years ago, 17, by Lawson Aschenbach, then driving an Audi. But this is super game on here at the front of the field. And Mario Farnbacher, you might remember going back a couple of weeks, he took the lead briefly on the last lap, didn't he, at Road America in the rain, then slid off at the kink and had to give the win up to the Lexus, Aim Vassar-Sullivan Lexus team. So he doesn't want to finish second again. He wants the win here with Mario Farnbacher and that Meyer Shank Racing with Kerb Agajanian Acura team.
There's half a chance for any of those top 4 cars, and more than that at the moment. Jack Hawksworth at 16 seconds back. Well, it looks a long way at the moment, but a slip, a little grassy moment. We've seen how much that cost the Corvette earlier on. Tom Milner fighting back now, but he's 14 seconds away from the car in front. See what I'm saying? When Ollie Gavin had an unusual off there at turn 17. Well, if you are just joining us, you've missed a cracking opening couple of stanzas. We're now moving towards the final act of the WeatherTech SportsCar Championship at VIR. It is the Michelin GT Challenge. No prototypes here. But just because we don't have the prototypes doesn't mean we don't have the action, the entertainment and the drama. Plenty of that at the moment, as Bruno Spengler in third position in the overall standing comes past the battle for first and second, sitting in behind the GT3 BMW that is leading the class at the moment. And Bill Oberlin will not be unhappy to see a BMW grille behind him, rather the Mario Farnbacher and the NSX Acura grille that was there out through Oak Tree. Down the back straight now at IMSA Radio, hashtag Michelin PRT for our post-race tech. It will be quick fire. We have 2 more races this afternoon on Super Saturday from VIR. Sound and vision in most territories as well, in fact in all territories as well this afternoon. No blocks or breaks. We'll bring that to you. Tomorrow our feature race is the Michelin Pilot Challenge, and again full coverage without blocks or breaks on IMSA Radio RS2. If you're on Sirius XM now, good to have your company. Another stop for Vilander, who did come out of the pits. This is horrible for WeatherTech. They're chasing a problem as Aschenbach puts in the fastest GTD lap of the race. He's chasing Jeremy, and he's within a second and a half of Paul Miller Racing's Brian Sellers, who's within 2 seconds of the leaders. This is hotting up rather nicely.
Yeah, that's right. Two laps in succession there. A new fastest lap in GTD from a completely different car. Last time around it was number 86 car Mario Farnbacher in second place. Now it's Lawson Aschenbach in fourth. This is absolutely game on here. We did the top 4 contenders. He's still got a little bit of ground to make up. He's just a second behind. Well, we can see the gaps right there as they come under the Michelin bridge and head up the hill one more time. Those are the first 4 cars in GTD, pretty much in a string there. As unfortunately, the Scuderia Corsa WeatherTech Ferrari goes back behind the wall. No boost, no turbo boost on that Ferrari 488, so that car out of the race. What a shame. It's been a good strong run again for that Scuderia Corsa team.
Yeah, and you might say, well, why wouldn't you keep struggling than that? But first of all, you're not going to be on the pace. That means you're potentially going to be a hazard on the track. Secondly, you could detonate the engine, and what's the point in that? So they'll go and see if they can track down the issue. But very bad news indeed for them. Shea Adam is looking at the numbers. I did say that the 911 I thought was pretty close on fuel, Shea. Antonio Garcia now 15 seconds behind. Tandy is turning up the heat. 42.1 last time around, 42.1 for Garcia, but he's put 3 or 4 seconds into the Corvettes as the battle for the lead in GTD goes down into turn 1. Lock up. Oh, Farnbach is off at turn 1. Locks up the the left front Michelin and goes off onto the track. I'll come back to the battle at the front of the field. There's the mistake. He had a great run on that curving front straight across the line, and he's thrown it away, and through goes Brian Sellers into second place. Aschenbach goes through into third. He has got on ahead of Hawksworth, but he's cut down his lead over the Vassar Sullivan car. It was bold, but it was too bold, Jeremy, with still, 43 minutes to go. He came from a super long way back, got position, and Bill Oberlin, he's seen that before, hasn't he?
Well, I tell you what, he has, and because of that, he was able to avoid contact between them, because I don't know what Mario was thinking, and it was way too late. Really uncharacteristic to see the German youngster make relatively youngster make a mistake like that. But Bill Oberlin thankfully saw him coming, was able to delay his turn in just a fraction and avoid being T-boned by that errant Acura. Yeah,
very good driving by Oberlin. Shea Adam going back to the head of the field. Tandy trying to build up a gap here, and I said I wasn't sure that they could go from when they came in. They had a bit of help on the last stint with some safety cars. He's got 8 laps on the tank at the moment. There's 22 laps to go. That would make it a 30-lap stint. I think that might be tight. What is the rest of the pit lane saying in this VP Fuel update?
You think it might be tight, and so do the masterminds at Corvette Racing. They're not entirely convinced that they need to send Antonio Garcia at full speed ahead with a 14-second gap behind him and a 14-second gap to the lead. They're pretty sure that the gap will come down by itself in either one of two ways, the 911 running out of fuel or the 911 needing to pit.
If they pit, they need a much bigger gap than they've got at the moment, or they have to come in soon to give Nick Tandy the chance to fight his way back. That's the issue if they are short at the moment. He's not on a fuel-saving strategy at the moment. He's matching Garcia 10th for 10th. It is 14 and a half seconds at the moment. Hello, Christina Nielsen. She says, I'm biased because I normally race GTD, but great battle all throughout the race, and great to see the class getting some well-deserved screen time. That is one of the benefits, Jeremy, of having the GT-only events. We normally have one at Lime Rock Park. We've got one here. Thank goodness we've got this one off, because it has been great to concentrate on GT Le Mans, and particularly the GTD category.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, we always try to focus on it as much as we can, but with 4 different classes, it's a lot more difficult, obviously. So they're getting a lion's share of it all today, and boy, they are making us sit up and take notice, because this is a tremendous battle. It's a battle now for second place. Because Murray Firebacker has fallen all the way back to 4th. He's pretty much out of the picture now. So the question, can Brian Sellers and or Lawson Ashback reduce the deficit to Bill Orbit? Last lap they did by about a 10th of a second. I mean, next to nothing. Bill Orbit is looking really, really good here for Turner Motorsport BMW. They've made the perfect strategic call. Mario Farnbacher, he hasn't given up. He's just on the fastest lap of the race in GTD, but he's got a lot of ground to make up. Yeah,
and Sellers now has the 74 front-engined Mercedes-AMG GT3 of Lawson Ashback and Riley, pretty much in his wheel tracks now as they're trying to move forward and cut that gap down. Quick word for everybody out in California. Some terrible fires out there at the moment, and I know Carol Brink, one of our long-time listeners and big IMSA fan, is taking a well-earned break from the fire news out there at the moment. If you're in Monterey or round WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, you're all struggling in that area of the world at the moment. We wish you all the best and hope things turn around as quickly as possible. More racing for you tomorrow to take your mind off things as well, with the Michelin Pilot Challenge as our headline race. Don't forget 2 more races tonight as well. Lamborghinis and Porsches to come. So no peace for Jeremy Shaw tonight. We'll have a quick Michelin post-race tech and then wind Jeremy up and set him off again. He is our version of the Duracell bunny, in fairness, Jeremy.
So, someone's going to miss their evening walk too.
Oh, hang on. You said the W word. He's right. I didn't hear Riley bark there. That's bad strategy, that, Jeremy. Really, you know better than that tactically. Good heavens, sir. 38 and a half minutes to go. Jeremy Shaw in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre with me, John Hindhaugh. Shea Adam is our VP Racing Fuel Pit and Paddock reporter at the moment. 16 seconds the gap for Nick Tandy. In the UK, what time is it? Just after 9 o'clock at night. The JTR guys, I am positive, will be either listening and watching to the boss doing his job here. Good luck for the weekend in the Porsche Carrera Cup GB for JTR. Multiple championship winners down through the years. And Nick's sort of in his day job now, I suppose. And I can never quite tell whether Nick thinks running the race team is his day job and this is a release, or the other way around, to be honest. I suppose it might depend on what's happened the previous weekend to which of the teams, when you ask him if he told you which one he got the most release out of. He's in the car at the moment. He has nothing to think about other than hitting these marks and turning in, as if that wasn't enough, of course. Brake, turn in, accelerate, rinse and repeat. 16.092 seconds the gap at the front of the field, and Tandy is going to have to run about another 20 laps at the end of this one, so that's going to make it, with that pace he's running at the moment, a 31 lap stint with no yellow flags to help out. I don't think it's critical, but I do think it's close. Very interesting to see, Jeremy, that Antonio Garcia and Bruno Spengler pretty much 10th for 10th. Well, Tandy was a bit quicker last time around, but before that we're pretty much matching Tandy for his times. They're not closing in, but neither are they really dropping back until Tandy drops in a 42.2, of course, that time around. There's still tactics playing out here, and there's still undoubtedly for me, there's still races to be run.
Yeah, no question about it. But there's certainly a lot further spaced out in GTLM than I had anticipated coming to this race. I mean, pretty much everybody has made a mistake of some sort, haven't they? Well, number 911 didn't really make a mistake, but had a problem with that puncture. But we're back on board here with Lawson Aschenbach, running third in the GTD class for Riley Motorsports. Gar Robertson did a super opening stint. They made the strategy call to bring him in right after a full course caution, and because it was green, that wasn't a problem, by the way. But going back to that, we talked about it earlier on. As we see there's Patrick Long making a move on the number 57 car of Alva Parent. That is for 7th position in GTD. Right ahead of both of them is Andy Lally, by the way. Andy Lally,
Who helped out Catherine Legg when she came back into the US last week, was that, or the week before? Picked her up at Atlanta Airport. Catherine continuing her rehabilitation after a testing crash at the Paul Ricard high speed test track while she was preparing for the ELMS in LMP2. And we wish Cat well on that journey of recovery. Know that she's been swapping texts and tweets with the responsible adult who has had some leg injuries down through the years in a nasty car accident, nothing to do with me, and long before I knew her, by the way, so I'm totally blameless for that one. So stop laughing, Miss Adam, thank you very much. I just thought I would get it out there before anybody put it in. I got a whole load of abuse for bringing some flowers home the other day. Oh, what's Hindhoff got wrong? What new Porsche does he want to buy? Well, I can't just bring my wife some flowers for no apparent reason other than I saw a nice bunch of flowers and I thought she would enjoy them at home. Some people, I don't know, the Twitter sphere. Get on the Twitter sphere now. Hashtag Michelin PRT, please. We'll rattle through as many of your points arising or questions or things you've noticed. I think we're going to have some talking points here with still 34 minutes spot on remaining. A new personal best for Andy Lally, Mark Miller, Roman De Angelis, who's now installed in the heart of Racing 23, Brian Sellers, Bill Oberlin, new fastest lap of the class about 5 minutes ago from Mario Farnbacher. Everybody lighting up the timing screens now, Jeremy. This is not the time to be, well, to use a baseball term, it's not the time to be out looking. You need to take a swing right now. Whatever you've got, you get it out, you put it on the track.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of frustration here probably for Lawson Aschenbach. I think he probably feels he's a bit quicker than Brian Sellers. I think Brian is probably on fuel save mode there in number 48 car, and Lawson Aschenbach is bottled up behind him, just can't find a way past, because Brian, of course, is doing a super job, as he always does, at the wheel number 48 BMW, looking for 2 wins in a row, of course, having not raced since the winning performance at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. But this scrap is enabling Bill Oberlin to stretch his lead. It's now out to almost 4 seconds with half an hour just over remaining in this race, and it's also allowing Mario Farnbacher, we can see him here closing in that 4th position, having made that mistake a little while ago.
And just hearing from up in the northwest that JTR are indeed tuned in, listening and watching the boss Nick Tandy as he continues to lead this race. I'm just going to tweet out again, if you're in the UK or you've got no coverage in your country, our live video and enhanced timing as well on at IMSA Radio. What have we got left? 32 minutes, 16 and a half seconds This is getting very interesting indeed. And what about GTD? Oberlin by 4.3 seconds to Brian Sellers, who's got Aschenbach right there. Then Farnbacher, what a drive back this has been from Farnbacher. He's within 0.8 of a second of being back on the podium. Then it's 19 seconds. But then Jack Hawksworth's only got, well, a couple of seconds between himself and Andy Lally, and Pat Long's right there. Another 2 seconds back is Alvaro Perez. You drop a wheel off, you have a half spin here, Jeremy, you're going to lose a whole handful of places in GTD.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and we've seen that, haven't we, during this race. One small mistake cost you a lot of ground, because these are most of the quick corners, particularly here at the end of the lap and going to the start of a new lap here. You get off on the grass here, you're going to lose a lot of time getting back onto the asphalt.
Now the fastest lap as well, Mark Miller just set a new personal best in the Gradient Racing car. They're down in 12th position at the moment. Remember, they had that issue when Till Bechtelsheimer went off and lost a couple of laps. They've actually not dropped any more time, really, not dropped any more laps at least. A 46.4 last time around for Mark Miller, but he's going to have to make up a whole lap to make up a position. There are people at the back who've had problems. Wielander, Jesse Kron comes into the pits. Wielander hasn't gone out again. Rob Ferriol for Hardpoint. He hit the barriers quite hard and went behind the wall. Jesse Kron, that car had steering issues for the 24 machine, but he is back out again. Tony Wielander's been in and out of the pits and now remains in the pits after a turbo boost problem for the 63 WeatherTech Ferrari. That's what's going on at the back of the field. At the front of the field, Nick Tandy leads by 16.5 seconds with 30 minutes to go from Antonio Garcia for Corvette. Can they keep their extraordinary 2020 run of racing going for the Corvette racing team? BMW in third, Corvette in fourth. They're a little bit further back down the line, 13 and 17 seconds away from the cars in front, but Bill Oberlin is leading out by 4 seconds. GTD on his quest for the victory that will take him to the top on his own of races won in IMSA. He's been waiting for that for a long time, and this is as good a chance Jeremy Shaw is going to get, and has had for quite some time. He now has got this race to control himself. Sellers, Aschenbach, Farnbacher, they're battling amongst themselves.
Yeah, you're right. He is absolutely in control of this race. We saw in the first couple of stints of the race the consistency of that Turner Motorsport BMW M6 GT3 is superb. The tyres stay underneath that car really, really well. You can turn consistent lap times. Bill Oberlin, as you say, he's done this once or twice in the past. It's been 15 years since he's won here at VIR, but this has been a super performance so far. We've still got just under 29 minutes remaining, so still a long, long way to go. But Bill, that won't faze him at all. He's used to every type of pressure that possibly can be thrown at you.
Hello to the Tandy family as well. Brittany Tandy's just let me know. Hello, Brett. Nice to know that you're tuned in. Not seeing much of the big fella at the moment because he's out in front by nearly 17 seconds. The action is for second place in GT Daytona. Nice to, we call ourselves a bit of and hello to Felix and Ava as well too, but we call ourselves a community service here. Normally that means you serve a very small area. Our community isn't geographic because our community is spread across the world, and whether it's friends, family or connections to teams and drivers, or you just happen to be an endurance racing enthusiast, wherever you are in the world, you've got the opportunity to tune in with no blocks or breaks to IMSA Radio. Much of our service as well coming with the IMSA TV pictures in territories that don't have network TV deals. If you're in the UK at the moment, you can be tuning in, and over most of Europe as well. So just after 20 past 10 in Europe, 20 past 9 in the UK or thereabouts, on a Saturday evening for our main race of the weekend. Our big feature tomorrow, Michelin Pilot Challenge. Tune in for that as well. Tandy, Garcia, Spengler, Milner, 48 seconds between the top four, but crucially Jeremy Shaw, Nick Tandy easing away from Corvette's Antonio Garcia. Now, last time around, barely anything between them, but it's just going the right way for Tandy. 18.6 seconds.
Yeah, no, he's lapping super consistently in front of the field. 42.6 last time. He was lapping in the high 1 minute 41s. He's now cut that a little bit to sort of mid to high 42s. 42.6 last time. That's the best lap he's done in 4 or 5 laps. But I think he's under control here. The question is on the fuel side of things, and I'm sure the team will know exactly how that is panning out, because they have all the data in front of them on the pit wall. They'll be relaying that to Nick Tandy, and it's just a question now of reading off the laps for him.
Yeah, at IMSA Radio, Michelin, hashtag Michelin PRT. Stay tuned. Don't go too far away, because we've got more races coming to you. And this evening, plenty of action still to come with a couple of the challenge races. Hello to Kev, sitting in the UK with a nice takeaway. Don't know who's more glued to the pictures, me or my 8-year-old racing mad son, whose name you haven't given us, Kev. But he does say, what a finish this is lining up to be in both classes. Love the Pewley GT racing. We've always said that. Second, third and fourth pretty much together in GT Daytona. That's Sellers, Aschenbach and Farnbacher. Lamborghini, Mercedes, NSX with a Lexus behind them and a BMW in front of them. Once again, Jeremy Shaw, we are seeing variety with the top 5 separated by not that much, and 5 different manufacturers. Love GTD.
Yeah, it is cool, isn't it? And this battle here we're watching now between the Lamborghini, the Mercedes and the Acura, there seems to be nothing to choose between them. The Acura's certainly got the pace, because that has set the fastest lap of the race in GTD, but by not very much. Actually, of those leading cars, their best laps are 45.4 for Farnbacher, 45.6 for Aschenbach, 45.9 for Brian Sellers, and a 46.1, slowest of all, for Bill Oblin and Robbie Foley. But they're the ones who have this 4+ second lead.
Well, Kev's son is called Caden. It is a weekend, so 9:30 in the UK coming up too. That's not too bad. We've got a couple of more races. See if you can twist your dad's arm, Caden. We've got some more live sound and vision for you with, what is it tonight? Lamborghinis and Porsches, isn't it, Jeremy? Straight after this race this evening. And some more races tomorrow as well at a more family-friendly time. But weekend, I think... Well, yes, of course, for you a little bit earlier than you would like. But Caden, have a word with your dad. See if you can stay up a bit later. Certainly you're not going to bed in the next half an hour, are you? Because this one is absolutely boiling up at the moment. And Aschenbach with Farnbacher and Sellers. Sellers second, Aschenbach third, Lamborghini, Mercedes, Acura heading through the twistier parts of the circuit at the moment. And Aschenbach, having dragged up to the back of these cars, has not been able to put any kind of meaningful move on, with under 24 minutes to go now as they head out through turn 4 and 5 and starting the uphill climb through the S's under the bridge where you get access to the infield, past the barn normally where Marion and her catering is. Hello to all of the ancillary staff who are normally at the track. They'll be away from the circuit as well. Marion and Sandra Champlain, who look after us as part of the IMSA circuit and have done for very many years. All of the marshals as well as the officials. I know it's been difficult for you guys as well, and we miss being part of our IMSA motor racing family. 23 minutes to go. Now, all of a sudden at the front of the field, a slow lap from Tandy. Almost a 44.9, and that lead that was 18 seconds, Jeremy, is back down to 14. Was that just traffic?
But yes, I think it was. It's hard to see because the timing doesn't tell us that. But the last couple of laps have been in the 44s, 44.3 last time, 45.9 this time. And they were just working their way past Andy Lally and Patrick Long the last couple of laps, and Alvaro Prentice before that. So I think it was the traffic there. He now should have and then he's got number 14 car, which he might have already passed by now as well. Then after that, he should have clear sailing for several laps.
Yeah, 20 seconds between Hawksworth and Farnbacher. in terms of their positions on the track. Of course, you can still get lap cars mixed into that. Let's keep an eye on next time around. 44.9 last time was not the sort of time that Nick Tandy would be happy with. And on the split, it's coming down again. It's come down to 13.5 seconds. So again by Tonio Garcia. But traffic giveth, traffic taken away. No, it's another 45.0 that time around for Tandy. Now, 21 minutes to go. That means he could lose half a second a lap and be all right. But not 7/10. 3/10 last time around is okay. So is Tandy managing this gap? That's 2:45's near enough. Last time around, we need to keep an eye on this, Jeremy.
Yeah, we do. And this battle here too with Brian Sellers now, as we see, this is Patrick Long and Andy Lally going side by side into turn one. Patrick Long finally making that move. That's been a long time coming. He's been trying to make that move for a long time, but he's finally made it. That is through into the sixth position, because Alvaro Prent has also gone past Andy Lally. So I guess Andy lost a fair bit of ground there, yeah. So that's a change. But here, this battle for second place, Brian Sellers now is losing ground at the rate of a few tenths of a second a lap to the leader, Relive, which was not the case up until the last 2 or 3 laps.
Kev Hamilton, sorry, I've just heard that Caden's decided that now the man on the telly said he can stay up and watch the other races, he's going to, so that'll be a later start on Sunday morning. I'm looking at the now this is all predictive, and all things being equal, and to use a Paul Truswell-ism, a Truswellian phrase, all things being equal, which they seldom are, 21 laps already in for Nick Tandy, and the pace at the front of the field says another 11 to go in the last 20 minutes or thereabouts. This is going to be very tight. That would take to 32 laps with no intervention from yellow safety car laps. They did do a 34 lap stint prior to that, but the safety car was out in that stint. This is, if they've got this right, this is genius. But it's down to 11 seconds now, Jeremy. Another 45 by the leader. Tandy's been given a lap time, and the lap times are 45. He's managing his fuel now, and he's being asked to do that, and it's 11 seconds as Corvette is still doing 43.8, 42.6 for BMW, but they're another 12 seconds further back. So this now is coming down to who's got the numbers right. And this, Jeremy Shaw, in our Porsche Keys to the Race, my final point was these fuelish things and who's got the right calculator. That's what this is coming down to now.
It is absolutely right, and his fastest lap of the race for that number 911 car was 1 minute 41.3. As you say, he's now running to a pace in the around about 145.1 last time, 145.0 the lap before, 144.9 the lap before, and here he is into the pits.
Oh, well, maybe I think that's too late. If they knew they weren't going to be able to make it, they should have pitted him before. They're going to slam some new tyres, or is it just one new tyre? Shea Adam is watching.
Left rear, one new tire, and that's the tire that gave out earlier when Fred Makovecki was leading the race. That was about 12 laps into the race that they had an issue. Now it strikes again. I did not see the fuel hose. No. I think this was a tire only.
Well, so is that tyre-related issues? Remember, unique in IMSA competition, GTLM, they have 3 compounds of Michelin slick tyre. They're having a good look at the tyre that came off the left rear, but only that one. That does get a bit of hammer around here. You've got a couple of high-energy right-handed corners, notably coming down through the last corner. Big, long corner at turn 1 that you're leaning on that as well. So Tandy down to 3rd position and drops 8 seconds away from Spengler, who's 12 seconds ahead of Corvette. Garcia, oh my goodness, it's Corvette again. And Jeremy Shaw, is the Corvette winning juggernaut going to roll on since they've got that 100th IMSA victory, they have been absolutely brilliant.
Are you going to call anything at this stage of the race, John?
No.
No, absolutely right. Hey, look, at the number 4 car, the Corvette was in the pits a couple of laps ago as well.
Jeremy, just a quick note, the inside shoulder of that Michelin tyre was down to the cords. They could not have gone another corner on that without having a failure. Tandy must have felt that. That's a huge call for the 911 team. Yes, they've dropped the lead. They're rolling it on that so that we can't get a good look at it, but a good still grab from that earlier on, which I'm sure Alan Prosser will get as well. That could have been an even worse result, sitting in third at the moment, but they're still on the podium. Had that given up for the second time this race, remember, teammate Makoviecki had a problem earlier on, so that would have been a huge call, but it is the right call ultimately to bring that car in.
Yeah, absolutely right. But what a heartbreaker for that Porsche GT team. God, nothing's gone their way, has it, it seems, this season? It was just one little drama after another, and they've been really costly. A couple of notes in GTD. Andy Lally's obviously struggling for some reason in a GRT Magnus Lamborghini. Having been overtaken by Patrick Long, he's now slipped way back and back into the clutches now, and they might even be with him on the racetrack. Roman DeAndres and Townsend Bell were battling over 9th and 10th in the Aston Martin and the Lexus. They are closing right up on Andy Lally. Meanwhile, this battle for second, third and fourth in GTD, we've got Mario Farnbacher looking for all he is worth, trying to find a way past Lawson Aschenbach in that Riley Motorsport Mercedes.
Lally has just reached forward. He hasn't pitted any time recently. He's been out there for 20 laps, so not sure what would have caused that, Jeremy. Meantime then, shall we go back to a bit of action? All right, let's go back to the battle for third and fourth position. Brian Sellers is 3/4 of a second ahead of Lawson Aschenbach. That's second and third, with Mario Farnbacher. At one stage, he looks like he was in the cabin with Lawson Aschenbach. He was so close. He could have smelled his aftershave there. There's no doubt about the fact that Farnbacher's got a very quick car, but he can't find a way past Aschenbach at the moment. Garcia by 10.5 seconds. Nick Tandy getting back up to speed, a 41.8 last time around, a second quicker than the cars ahead. 14.5 minutes. This is not over. This is not over for Tandy. 8 seconds to second, 18 seconds to the lead.
Absolutely, you're right. You for sure catch Bruno Spengler. And the question is he going to be able to catch the leader as well? This is going to be a fascinating climax to this Michelin GT challenge.
And Tandy will be annoyed. He would have felt he was controlling that race. The fact that they didn't put any fuel into that car tells me that they were okay on the VP Racing fuel to get them to the end of the race. That was a tyre issue for the 911. Hello to Gert. Free coverage live to his area of the world. He said, I'm enjoying this from the comfort of my couch on the other side of the world. Floor of the number 3 vibrating, if you look carefully on the head-on shot, says right turn lover in the middle of Europe. Hop Sweets RTL, hope you're well, mate. Keep an eye on that as well. Oh, problem for the 76. Looks like right rear suspension for the Compass McLaren. What a shame for them. Been having a decent weekend. All kinds of smoke coming from the right rear. Now, I looked at that and I thought there was still air in that tyre, but it looks like the bodywork of the car has dropped onto the right. Oh, the tyre's gone. The wheel has gone. No, it's still there. I was right the first time. I should have just went with that, Jeremy. I think that suspension's dropped, hasn't it?
I think you might be right, yeah. He's going to go, there goes the race leader in GTD past him. He's going to pull that car off the racetrack. So what a great shame. It's been
that's going to bring out full course
difficult
yellow
race. Well, he might be able to, there's a yellow cut-off area there. I think he's done a fantastic job, has Paul Holton there, to pull off there into the orange overlaps, they're called, where there is room to pull the car back behind the fence. All the drivers are told about where those overlap points on the racetrack are. Over the crest of the hill there is one of them. You could pull that car to the left-hand side and you'll be out of harm's way. I don't think we will need to go yellow. Hats off there to Paul Holton and that Compass Racing team for getting that car out of the way. But what a disappointing day it has been for them after a brilliant performance once again in qualifying yesterday.
I think not only is that heads-up racing, I think that's very great respect for everybody else, Jeremy. The frustration for those guys must be massive. Either a right rear flat or a suspension issue on that 76 Compass car, and all you want to do is get out the car and not look back at it. If you know you're not going to get it back to the pits, which Paul thought that absolutely realised he wasn't going to, but instead of just parking it, he's found somewhere where the racing can continue. I think that's smashing. And right turn lover, by the way, was right. There is a vibration underneath the Corvette, and it's getting worse. It's getting worse to the point where it's bouncing on the ground going into the first corner, and it was throwing up smoke. It's another rear diffuser issue. We saw this from the Earl Bamber car. So is this bouncing over the curbs is causing this? Because that is rattling away. Now, race control will be watching that, because they do not want a big hunk of carbon fibre falling off that car. And by the way, there's 11 minutes to go. And by the way, that's the leader of the race. How brave would you have to be to call a meatball flag on that car as it leads the race, Jeremy Shaw?
Yeah, I mean, unless, yes, quite. You've got to hope that for Corvette's racing sake, they don't. But of course, they will be watching it very, very closely. If it can flap around there, there'll be several fixing points on that floor, so they'll be hoping that they don't need to call him in. But if they have to, they will.
A couple of moments ago, plenty of battling, and it looks like the Farnbacher finally makes the pass, going round the outside at the bottom of the uphill S's. I'm not sure I've seen that pass made before, unless it was a different category of car, Jeremy. That's Farnbacher deciding that now is go time with 10 to go. Yeah, that was very impressive indeed. What a great move for Mario Farnbacher. But all the while, Bill Arbelin pulling away at the front of the field. He's now got 9 seconds over this battle for second, third and fourth. So we've got Farnbacher now up into third place again, but he's still got to get past Brian Sellers if he's got any hope. Well, I don't think he has any hope now of catching Bill Arbelin in the lead with under now 10 minutes remaining. What do you do if you're Corvette? You've got to leave that car out there. 8.5 seconds now to Spengler. He's got the hurry up as well, but it is Nick Tandy who's on a charge. He's riled up, he's fired up, and he's on full attack mode. Target acquired. Under 4 seconds now to second place. 12.5 seconds to the leader. What a pass by Farnbacher. There was just a little bit of a hold up for the number 74 and Lawson Aschenbach as they came out of turn 4. He couldn't get on the throttle quite early enough. Bit of bump drafting from Farnbacher as they went under the Michelin bridge. He sticks on the right hand side of the circuit and knows that there's a little kink that goes his way. Again, great respectful racing room given by both of those drivers. Love this stuff, love this IMSA racing. Brilliant, absolutely superb. And Andy Lally, by the way, his pace is back to pretty much where it was before. So having done 5 or 6 laps at much reduced pace, he's been able to maintain his position on the racetrack, which is now 8th place, just ahead of Roman DeAndres and Townsend Bell. A 3-car battle there between the Lamborghini, the Aston and the Lexus. So under 9 minutes to go, coming down to 8 minutes to go. The lead is 8.5 seconds, and then it's 4 seconds back to Nick Tandy. And Shea Adam has an update from Corvette Racing in this VP Racing Fuels pit lane report.
Antonio Garcia can feel the vibration. It is affecting his driving, and he's just trying to hold on for the next 8 minutes. But the vibration has been getting progressively worse as the stint has gone on. And also, just a quick note on the 86 MSR Acura. I checked in with Matt McMurray after his great first stint and said, "What in the world did you guys do to Mario to make him drive this hard?" He said, "Nothing. This is just Mario. He goes 10/10 every time he's behind the wheel."
Don't forget, tomorrow we've got the Michelin Pilot Challenge. All of the schedule at the bottom of radio-show.co.uk. RS2 is IMSA Radio. You can go on IMSA.com as well. Main event tomorrow, Michelin Pilot Challenge for an hour and 40 minutes with the GT4s and the TCRs. We've got some challenge racing as well tomorrow, and 2 more challenge races to go tonight. I'm not sure I'm going to have anything left at the end of this. Lamborghinis, Brian Till and Jeremy Shaw to take you through that one, and then Jeremy and I will finish off with the first of 2 Porsche races this weekend for the Porsche GT3, IMSA Porsche GT3 Challenge USA. But that is ahead of us. We've still got 6.5 minutes of the racing. Oberlin controlling things, call it 10 seconds at the head of the field, heading to history if that car and he can hold it together. Under 8 seconds for Corvette with the flapping floor at the back of the number 3 bright yellow car for Antonio Garcia. Under 4 seconds, 3.3 seconds now for Tandy to Bruno Spengler. Spengler's picked his pace up here, and Tandy had a little bit of a tardy lap last time around, so Spengler grabbed some time back, just a couple of tenths, but in the big scheme of things that could be massively important. Still a great drive by Sellers, birthday boy earlier this week, in second position after Madison Snow fought his way through. But the story at the moment, with 6 minutes to go, is Bill Oberlin, who's got the run from turn 4 to halfway up the uphill S's on the battle for second position. And then the leader of the race is coming up behind those 3 as well. Now that's going to be interesting, yes. Jeremy.
It certainly is. I was just going to say that. Well spotted. He is coming up behind this battle, so he'll have to work his way through. And then, as you say, but just about 8 seconds behind is Bruno Spengler, and Nick Tandy all of a sudden has just turned a super quick lap of 41.5 for Tandy. He's less than 2 seconds behind Spengler in the battle for second and third. I
think Tandy could still get second here. He'll be disappointed. Oh, yeah. That was a race win there. It looked like they had fuel. He's gone to full rich, and he's hunting down BMW team RLL Bruno Spengler, who was so sparkling in the IMSA iRacing Pro Series. He's the leader. Keep an eye on the back of the number 3 car, particularly down the front straight, where the vibration seems to be the worst, as they're getting up to the highest speed here, down through the roller coaster and now onto the front straight. Keep an eye on the back half of the floor. It's moving around so much. Poor Antonio Garcia must be able to feel that flapping. It's hitting the ground, even throwing up a little bit of dust and dirt at times here as he's in the braking area for turn 1. New fastest lap of the race by Tandy. Tandy on a tear, and the leader held up in this battle finally gets past Farnbacher, the 3rd place GTD car. I'll have to go and have a lie down in a darkened room after this. Lead down to 7 seconds. Tandy a 1.5 seconds away from second position Spengler, and 8 seconds off the lead inside the last 4 minutes. Jeremy Shaw.
Fantastic, tremendous battle, and just coming under the bridge, so not far behind this battle for second, third and fourth in GTD is the battle for second place overall, with Spengler ahead of Tandy, but not by very much. By the time the end of this lap, there should be nose to tail. That lap by Tandy, 141.3. It's still away from the lap record that was set last year by Earl Bamber, but he's charging hard now. I mean, he's certainly got one eye open, or ear open perhaps, to make sure there's nothing going wrong with that tire. Maybe he can hear if there's any problems with that tire, maybe throwing off some tread or whatever it might be, because certainly that thought has got to be in the back of the mind for Nick Tandy.
He's right there. Tandy is right with the BMW Spengler. It's down to 0.3 of a second. Now it goes out to 0.6. Little bits of changes through the mini splits that we get on our timing screen. It'll be, I reckon, 2 more laps as they come around again with 3 minutes to go. Garcia only 6 seconds ahead of 43.4 from Garcia, 42.6 from Spengler, and a 41.3 from Tandy. The top 3 are coming together. They're on the front straight together. They've got this battle for second in GT3 between them, GT Daytona between them, and that is going to be a real danger area for Spengler, who has got Tandy right with him. He dodges to the left-hand side, coming into turn number 3. That's not a passing area, maybe the inside, going into 4. There it is. Tandy licks the stab and sends it, Daniel Ricciardo style. He's going to be hung out on the wrong side of the track though as they come round the right-hander at 4 and 5. Tandy's flashing the lights. He thinks he's still got a chance of the win here. 6 seconds up the road is the leader. He thinks he's got a chance of the win. He needs to get past Spengler. He's not going to do it through the uphill S's.
No, and it will be white flag next time around.
Oh, yes, it will.
Just about, I think. Or will it?
Not sure, Jeremy.
No, it won't be.
No, it won't.
It won't be. No. You're absolutely right. There'll be 2 more laps. So it won't be a white flag next time. So, but he's got to get past. Yeah, he's found getting past Bruno Spengler. He did it for about 20 yards perhaps. Next time he's got to make it stick, and I don't think there's enough time left. I mean, Antonio Garcia, he's managing his pace as best he can. His fastest lap of race was 1:41.8. He's doing 44s, 43s, 44s now as the clock ticks towards that 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Tandy hit the GTD traffic at exactly the wrong time. That Porsche has no speed in a straight line, or the BMW has got afterburners. You pick which one it is, because it is rapid. Oh, the white flag is out. The white flag is out now. So they come through. Now, that seems to be...
No, it's not. That's right. I'm sorry.
51 seconds. Yeah, all right. Yeah.
The wrong clock.
Yeah.
I was looking at the wrong clock.
So one more tour, and Tandy has to make the pass as he goes through that battle, and through goes Farnbacher into second, but goes wide in GTD. Back down the inside, Brian Sellers. Do they touch there? It was very close indeed as they went into 4, but Farnbacher using the Porsche, passing that battle for second expertly well, and goes up into second in class. Sellers almost got it back into 4, couldn't quite make it, and still Tandy has got Spengler ahead of him. Corvette cruising, relatively speaking, Saturday afternoon cruise, 6.6 seconds to the good, cruising to another victory, but second place, Spengler and Tandy. It is not over there, and Lawson Aschenbach feels the need as well to try and get on the podium at Oak Tree for the final turn. What a race in both categories. GT racing at its best. The Michelin GT Challenge here has been a festival of Grand Touring racing, and the 2 class leaders are together as they come to the top of the hill for the final time. Corvette will take another victory, and Bill Oberlin for BMW, for Will Turner, for Liqua Moly, and for Robbie Foley will win in GTD. And through comes the Corvette for another victory, but Bill Oberlin drives into history for BMW and becomes the most successful IMSA driver in its history. It's BMW second overall, and Nick Tandy fighting back after 2 tyre issues on the 911. Another victory for Corvette, then BMW and Porsche, and it's Oberlin for BMW. Oberlin into the history books ahead of Acura, Lamborghini, Mercedes, Lexus and Porsche. The top 6 in GTD, all different manufacturers. We knew it was coming. It has arrived. Bill Power tops the charts. Jeremy Shaw.
Superbly well judged there by Bill Oberlin and the Turner Motorsport BMW team, and also for Antonio Garcia at Corvette Racing. I mean, everything is falling their way at the moment, but the drivers have got to take advantage of that. That's exactly what they did today. And there was only 3.5 seconds between Garcia and Spengler for BMW at the checkered flag, with Nick Tandy right behind them as well. So that ended up being a tremendously exciting battle towards the end. But hats off to this team, and this extends the lead now for top podium finishes for Antonio Garcia. He was tied. He and Jordan Taylor and Dane Cameron came tied for 35 in podium finishes in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. That's just the stats since 2014, and this will be yet another win then for Jordan Taylor. He is the most successful driver in the history of this championship now, with 17 wins.
Well, that was absolutely brilliant stuff. We'll try and get some response from the drivers. Hashtag Michelin PRT. We're going into another race very quickly, so it will have to be quick fire. Lamborghinis are getting ready in the dummy grid area. What a race. Let's quickly wrap up the results. We'll get into Michelin post-race tech, which effectively will just run through until we get to the start of our next race. I know Jeremy's doing all the arithmetic at the moment. In GTD, the big headline, Bill Oberlin, now on his own, has the most victories in IMSA competition. And that 96 car comes home. He'll be racing tomorrow in the Michelin Pilot Challenge, a chance to add another one. He comes home 7.5 seconds ahead of Mario Farnbacher. What a drive by Farnbacher. The 86 car, quick all day, and brings Acura onto the podium ahead of Lamborghini for Brian Sellers and Madison Snow. Welcome back, guys, and welcome back to the podium. We've missed the Paul Miller Racing Lambo. Just 8 tenths ahead of Riley. Lawson Aschenbach, he'll be disappointed to be off the podium. Then Hawksworth for Ian Vassar, Wright Motorsports for Porsche, making up the top 6. Jeremy?
Yeah, just a great day all around, wasn't it? It's been a tremendous race.
Jeremy, I'm going to break in here because we've got Robbie Foley with our VP interview. Shea Adam has this from the pits.
You can hear the celebrations and the shouting in the background, Robbie. It hasn't been the best year for Turner Motorsports. You guys only getting one podium, but today you just had the pace over the rest of the field. What's it like to be a race winner at VIR?
Yeah, it's awesome. One of my favorite places to come race for sure. It's a great facility here. Everybody does an amazing job to put these events on. And, yeah, it's amazing. For Bill to get his 61st at, both of our favorite tracks is amazing. And, yeah, feels good to win again. So
you did manage to get 2 wins last year, and one of those being Petit Le Mans. So it wasn't too long there to wait in between the races, but it seemed like everybody else was battling behind you. Did you just have the perfect car today?
Yeah, I don't know if we had the ultimate pace, but our car was very consistent. We had a great M6 under us, and as long as we got clean restarts and managed to pace at the front a little bit, I think it was hard for others to get by. So Bill did an awesome job at the end, just managing that. The 3 guys were racing super hard behind, and he was able to just pull a comfortable gap to the end.
Robbie, you did a couple of great starts and restarts, mate. I've always thought you were a good starter. You did it well today. Let me ask you, getting that 61st win for Bill, how much has that been preying on your mind and the team's mind? That monkey's off your back now, though.
Yeah, obviously it's an awesome feeling. It's an awesome thing to be a part of, to race with a guy like Bill who's had such a storied career and history, especially with BMW. It's amazing to just be a very, very small part of his long, amazing career. So great for us, great for him, and hopefully we can kind of get on a roll here.
Have a great...
Robbie, thanks for chatting with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, have a great night, and we'll see you back tomorrow for the Michelin Pilot race. Thanks, Robbie.
Awesome, thanks, guys.
Robbie Foley in the VP pit lane interview there. Antonio Garcia gets the car back to the pit lane for the overall victory. Jeremy Shaw, what have you got quickly for us? We've effectively moved into Michelin post-race tech. We don't have a lot of time, so we're not going to break away and play the jingle. But Jeremy, we're in Michelin post-race tech now. What can you tell us about the championship positions?
Well, this is the yet another win, the 3rd in 4 races for Antonio Garcia and Jordan Taylor. They are now 19 points clear in GTLM, 165 to the 146 of Lawrence Vanthoor and Earl Bamber. Oliver Gavin and Tommy Milner just 1 point behind in 3rd position, and then 2 points behind them with the 3rd place finish today, Nick Tandy and Fred Makovecki. In the Manufacturer Championship, Corvettes, of course, will extend its lead, and BMW will pull out a couple of points also over Porsche, who then remain in 3rd. So Chevrolet in 1st, BMW 2nd, Porsche in 3rd. In GTD, in the overall championship, big changes here. The 2nd place finish for Mario Farnbacher and Matt McMurray, by my reckoning, will give them 115 points ahead of the championship leader Jack Hawksworth coming into here, who had only a 5th place finish. Third in the points will be Hawksworth's teammate Aaron Telitz. Of course, he and Hawksworth drove in different cars in the first race of the championship. They'll have 110. And then tied next up on 107 will be Townsend Bell and Frankie Montecalvo, and today's winners, Bill Oberlin and Robbie Foley. So super tight in GTD. In the Manufacturers' Championship, that's tightened up as well. I think Acura will leave with the championship point in lead in GTD.
Jan 007 at Michelin PRT. What a great race. Fight back from tyre problems from the Porsche. Outstanding. Thanks for the sound and vision. Jeremy, so many stories, not least 61 wins for Bill Power. Bill Oberlin, one of the first people I met when I came to IMSA back in the late 1990s. Him and his dad had spent some time with those guys, and they showed me the ropes a little bit. A great driver, a doughty competitor, a fabulous bloke as well. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
No, he's one of the first people I met here when I came in the 80s. That's a slight exaggeration, but no, it's brilliant. I mean, what a fantastic performance by that entire team. They've been knocking on the door all the way through this season. It's really, really well deserved for them today. And for Bill, you know, hats off to the guy. He's always got fantastic enthusiasm. It's been 15 years since his last win here at VAR. This is his fourth win at this track, the most successful in this championship. Just a perfect way to do it for Bill Oberlin, and a great drive once again by Robbie Foley. Yeah,
can't do it on his own. I said to Robbie, I know people will be talking about Bill, but Robbie's starts and restarts certainly gave them a really good opportunity there. Corvette, Shea Adam, the Corvette steamroller since the 100th win. They just can't stop winning.
All I do is win, I think, needs to be their ringtone from now on with Corvette Racing. Yeah, another win for Jordan and Antonio. And, you know, the yellow car, it just seems to do better all throughout the history of Corvette Racing. Whenever they have one car that's yellow and one car that's a different color, the yellow one just does a little bit better. And that's still what's happened today. Jordan Taylor celebrating, not answering his phone, can hardly blame him. He earned this win today.
We'll find out, I'm sure, because Michelin will be looking into it, what was going on with the Porsche rear tyres, as our IMSA TV audience is going to leave us now. But don't go away for too long, because we've got Lambo coming up.